381. Tear off the face, suppress the blue dragon. Cleanse the prison of sin, the Hongmeng Immortal Scripture. Your admonition provoked public outrage, with many people angrily rebuking you for being so selfish. You said that selflessness is what saints do, and you are not a saint, you are an ancestor. The situation escalated, and eventually, 3 highly respected Supreme Immortals stepped forward to calm the crowd and quell the matter. Afterward, the more you thought about it, the more you felt something was amiss. The Sin Prison has a total of 7 layers, and the place where you cultivate is the deepest layer, where Supreme Immortals frequently reside. The matter of your breakthrough should only be known to Supreme Immortals, so why did everyone else know about it so clearly? Who exactly leaked the news? You observed in secret, without showing any emotion. Soon, you discovered that the news originated from the lineage of Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal. Not long after, Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal personally came to you to borrow some resources. Naturally, you could not lend resources to this person with ulterior motives. Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal flicked his sleeve, turned, and left with a dark expression. You continued to cultivate daily, but the situation in the Sin Prison became increasingly subtle. Many unfavorable remarks about you were spread everywhere. This made the people of Sin Prison increasingly reject you, the outsider. Da Sui and Hua Huang came to you together, asking you to share some resources with the people of Sin Prison, not too much, just enough to win their hearts. You flatly refused, saying that human greed is endless, and once you open the door, what awaits is not gratitude but endless demands. There was one more thing you didn't mention. Among the hundreds of thousands of cultivators who survived in the Sin Prison, most of them had already had their personalities twisted by the high-pressure environment of the Sin Prison. In the past, they could maintain a fragile balance under the prestige of the 3 great Supreme Immortals, but as the 3 great Supreme Immortals gradually ran out of time, conflicts would break out sooner or later. And you, this outsider, merely broke this balance ahead of time, becoming the fuse. Therefore, the root cause was not in you, and you could not make any meaningless concessions. Days passed, and under the guidance of the Azure Dragon lineage, the immortal cultivators in the Sin Prison grew increasingly dissatisfied with you. Everyone is suffering, so why are you enjoying yourself alone? Thus, 3 years later, this sentiment of, not worrying about scarcity but about inequality, finally reached a critical point. At this moment, Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal stepped forward and was the first to attack you. Other immortal cultivators responded one after another, with an overwhelming momentum. Da Sui and Hua Huang were caught in the middle and found it very difficult, but human hearts cannot be changed, and the general trend cannot be stopped, so the 2 of them found it hard to forcefully stop everyone. Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal also promised the 2 that he would only ask you to hand over the resources in your possession to share with everyone, and your life would not be in danger. Da Sui and Hua Huang again urged you to quickly concede, but you remained unmoved. The 2 were helpless and could only let you suffer a painful defeat. Perhaps only by letting you suffer a little would you compromise. Without the restraint of Da Sui and Hua Huang, Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal was overjoyed and immediately led a large group of immortal cultivators to surround your cultivation place. Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal even pretended to be magnanimous and said, "I can give you one last chance." You remained expressionless, stood up with a sneer. "No matter how many ants there are, they are still just ants. Since you are looking for death, I will grant your wish." Subsequently, an extremely powerful aura erupted from your body, causing everyone to change their expressions. Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal shouted, "Don't be afraid, he is just bluffing." Seeing this, you directly attacked Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal. When you were at Ancestor 8th Realm, you had no fear of Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal, and now that you are at Ancestor 9th Realm, dealing with him is even easier. You only used a dozen moves to suppress him. Everyone was greatly shocked, thinking it would be a tough battle, but they didn't expect Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal to be so useless, unable to even defeat an ancestor. Although he had been imprisoned in the Sin Prison for over 1 billion years, he was still a Supreme Immortal who had undergone the 2nd corpse cutting. How could he be so weak? Seeing Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal captured, the crowd, who had previously been shouting to kill you, immediately regained their reason and clarity. They stated that it was all because of the instigation of the Azure Dragon lineage that they were momentarily confused and offended you, and asked you, as a magnanimous person, not to hold it against them. You chuckled, "Only now do you pretend to be objective. Too late." Then, you began a massive purge of these people. At this moment, Da Sui and Hua Huang came to persuade you, saying that these were the surviving seeds of the Grand Mist lineage, and that a minor punishment to vent your anger would suffice, and that you should forgive them. You said they were sin blood, and you were the noble holy blood. How could holy blood forgive sin blood? After speaking, you started a frenzied slaughter. Everyone who participated in this incident, those below the ancestor realm, were all killed, while those at the ancestor realm were imprisoned by you in the 10,000 Demons Tower. Under your harsh methods, the Azure Dragon lineage was almost completely wiped out. Seeing this scene, Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal's Dao heart collapsed, and he shouted, all of this was instigated by Su Tuo. He said that as long as I found the resources on you, he would give me a chance to get out. Every wrong has its source, and every debt has its owner. If you're capable, go settle accounts with Su Tuo. What kind of ability is it to bully the weak? You turned a deaf ear, determined to clear out all related individuals. The slaughter only stopped when 2/3 of the people in the Sin prison had died. Thereafter, no one in the Sin prison dared to defy your will, and your ears finally found much peace. After interrogating Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal for more information, you also imprisoned him in the 10,000 Demons Tower. Shi Lianmeng, Ku Tuo Great Buddha, and others in the tower were greatly astonished. It was one thing to imprison many ancestors, but how could even a supreme immortal be imprisoned? With the terrifying progress of this sin blood's strength, did they still have any hope of escaping? Hua Huang was very annoyed by your actions but powerless to change them. Da Sui, however, rarely showed a look of appreciation, saying, if one's methods are not ruthless enough, how can one revitalize the Grand Mist lineage? He also handed you a jade slip. You looked at its contents and found that it was the Hongmeng Immortal Scripture, created by Hongmeng Immortal King himself. It detailed the cultivation methods from Supreme Immortal to Immortal Lord and Immortal King, as well as Hongmeng Immortal King's insights into various realms. Its preciousness to you is no less than a miraculous creation. Of course, what you are most concerned about now is how to break through to Supreme Immortal. The Hongmeng Immortal Scripture also provides a detailed explanation. To break through to Supreme Immortal, the most important things, besides cutting off the corpse, are to experience a great life and death tribulation. This kind of life and death tribulation does not mean that having experienced a life and death crisis counts as passing it. Instead, one must truly die once. The physical body, divine soul, and cave heaven world must all be destroyed and dissipated, and then one must be resurrected from the dead to be considered to have passed the great life and death tribulation. 382. The Supreme Rule, the 10th level of the Ancestor. Senluo Immortal Lord, escape from the prison of sin. Supreme Immortals who break through in the 10 Directions land generally resort to a tricky method, utilizing the most powerful immortal item in the Red Cloud Land's Fire Cloud Kaveh, the 3 lives Stonia, to feign death once, deceiving the immortal Dao of the 10 Directions land, and thereby passing the great life and death tribulation. The Hongmeng Immortal Scripture points out that any living being who has not truly passed the great life and death tribulation will be capped at Immortal Lord and can never break through to Immortal King. The Hongmeng Immortal Scripture records a secret art called Hongmeng Rebirth Art, which is specifically designed for this life and death tribulation, boasting a success rate as high as 70%. You then thought, why not use True Spirit Undying for the breakthrough instead? True Spirit Undying is a talent with Immortal King characteristics. Even if one dies completely, one can be resurrected from the long river of history, which is even more thorough than the rebirth method of the Hongmeng Rebirth Art. This great life and death tribulation, for you, is not too difficult. Once you reach ancestral 10th perfection, you can begin to pass the great life and death tribulation. Next, you continued to cultivate in seclusion. Outside the Sin prison, Su Tuo Supreme Immortal, seeing that Azure Dragon had failed to do anything to you, couldn't help but feel anxious. The Purple Firmament Divine Institute and other forces in the 10 Directions land would urge him every so often, asking if the items the Sin blood had snatched from them had been found. Su Tuo Supreme Immortal had intended to pressure you through Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal, but he hadn't expected your strength to progress so quickly that even Azure Dragon was no match for you. Seeing that it was difficult to do anything to you in a short period, Su Tuo Supreme Immortal increased the Sin prison's punitive power against you tenfold, which was already his highest authority. However, its effect on you was quite limited. Su Tuo Supreme Immortal also knew this. He merely wanted to interfere with your cultivation. To make you hand over the items, he would have to find other channels. It would be best if an Immortal Lord could be invited to take action. Time passed year by year. 50 years later, Su Tuo Supreme Immortal finally contacted Senluo Immortal Lord of the Senluo Hall in the second heaven, a Golden Hall heaven. Senluo Immortal Lord was very interested in what Su Tuo Supreme Immortal spoke of. He believed that you most likely possessed a creation wonder or a creation spirit treasure. After Hongmeng Immortal King fell, his innate creation wonder, the Hongmeng Dao Field, went missing. He wondered if it was related to this. However, Senluo Immortal Lord currently had important matters to attend to and would only be able to come to Yuan Jing Heaven after some time. Su Tuo Supreme Immortal's face was beaming with joy. He had initially treated it as a last resort, but he hadn't expected to be able to invite an Immortal Lord. This way, he could both resolve the sin blood issue and give an explanation to the various forces in the 10 Directions land, which was truly killing two birds with one stone. As for the creation wonder, whether it existed was unknown, and even if it did, it was not something a supreme immortal like him could covet. If Senluo Immortal Lord came for this, and he found the creation wonder, it would naturally be his. This wait lasted for 30 years. Within the Sin Prison, you had already comprehended all first-grade rules except for the top 10 supreme rules. Your strength had increased tremendously. Previously, it took some effort to suppress Azure Dragon Supreme Immortal. Now, it only required one move. The top 10 supreme rules, from highest to lowest, are chaos, destiny, time, space, origin, destruction, reincarnation, calamity, undying, and order. The difficulty of comprehending each supreme rule is extraordinarily high. Almost no one can comprehend them in the ancestral realm. Even among supreme immortals, very few can comprehend these rules. You have infinite enlightenment, so comprehending these rules is only a matter of time. However, it might take a while. Even for the 10th ranked order rule, you would need several hundred years. And the further up, the higher the difficulty. Without tens of thousands of years, it would be difficult for you to comprehend all supreme rules. However, the Sin Prison has no shortage of time. You just need to cultivate in peace for another 10 to 20,000 years. It's just that Ku Tuo Great Buddha would suffer, as he might be continuously refined for tens of thousands of years. As you were thinking this, a scene suddenly appeared before your eyes. A middle-aged man covered in devilish qi, wearing a ghost-faced black robe, descended upon the Sin Prison, took the Hongmeng Dao Palace from your body, and you died on the spot. The scene shattered, and a specific time appeared in your mind, 1 year later. Your brows instantly furrowed. You knew this was your glimpse of destiny talent being triggered. But, who was that ghost-faced black-robed man just now? Being able to find the Hongmeng Dao Palace so easily, he should be in existence above a supreme immortal, but it's unknown whether he's an immortal lord or an immortal king. You had originally planned to comprehend 10 supreme rules in the Sin Prison, but now it seems you have to change your plan. You must first pass the great life and death tribulation, and then go on to comprehend the 10 supreme rules. But before that, you must first break through to Ancestral 10th. You have already comprehended all first-grade rules except for the top 10 rules. Now, when you revisit and comprehend second-grade rules, it's as easy as turning your hand. In less than a month, you comprehended 10 new second-grade rules and imprinted them within your grotto heaven. You break through to Ancestral 10th. Your strength increased greatly once again. Afterward, you sought out Da Sui and Hua Huang and told them of your intention to break out of prison. They both advised you not to do so, as the Sin Prison is a creation wonder and very difficult to break through from the inside. Most importantly, doing so would greatly damage your life origin, and although you still had some resources to replenish it, there was no need to waste it like that. They wouldn't have done it themselves if it weren't for Fuxi's prophecy. Your mind was made up, and you instructed them to notify all immortal cultivators to act together. Although their strength was nothing to you, every little bit helps. Under your intimidating power, everyone quickly acted again. The Sin Prison suddenly erupted again, catching Su Tuo Supreme Immortal off guard. However, after your previous massacre, the Sin Blood imprisoned in the Sin Prison had already suffered heavy losses. The scale of this riot was far smaller than the last time. So Su Tuo Supreme Immortal did not pay too much attention, merely suppressing it as usual. However, what he didn't know was that these people were just smoke bombs you released. You had been waiting for an opportunity for them to lower their guard. After the riot had lasted for almost a year, Senluo Immortal Lord finally arrived in Yuan Jing Heaven from Golden Hall Heaven. Su Tuo Supreme Immortal went to the dimensional exit to greet him, briefly leaving the Sin Prison. Not long after Su Tuo Supreme Immortal left, you released 3 Tao bodies and launched a fierce attack on the weak point you had already discovered. Without a supreme immortal presiding over it, the Sin prison quickly developed an opening to the outside world. You were the first to rush out, escaping the Sin prison. The others also swarmed out, their faces filled with wild joy. How many years had it been? They had actually left that cursed place. Da Sui and Hua Huang never expected you to bring them such a huge surprise. 383. 10,000 years later, half a step to immortality. Meet Ning Chen again, order is immortal. Your true body quietly slipped away, leaving behind only a Tao body to lead everyone in a counterattack against the Sin Blood Division headquarters, which was established atop the Sin prison. All those who had escaped unleashed the pent-up rage of countless years, and the Sin Blood Division headquarters quickly became a river of blood. Upon receiving the news, Shu Tuo was both shocked and enraged. Senluo Immortal Lord brought him, traversing vast distances in mere breaths, to the Sin Blood Division headquarters and suppressed all the Sin Blood once more. The power of an Immortal Lord made everyone despair, it was a terrifying force beyond description. After Senluo Immortal Lord suppressed the Tao body you left behind, he discovered it was not your true body, and his brow furrowed. He attempted to divine your whereabouts but failed. He uttered, "Interesting," then used his vast immortal consciousness to search for all traces in the vicinity, quickly discovering the spatial ripples you had left. These spatial ripples were left when you traveled through the void realm, and even a supreme immortal's immortal consciousness would struggle to detect them, but in the eyes of an immortal lord, they were incredibly clear. Your true body, currently on the run, sensed the danger and chose to self-destruct without hesitation. This was not merely the destruction of your physical body, your divine soul and cave heaven self-destructed along with it, signifying complete death. The next moment, Senluo Immortal Lord arrived at the place of your death, greatly astonished by your self-destruction. He suspected you were merely feigning death to escape. Subsequently, he employed various methods to investigate whether you had used some resurrection technique, only to discover that you had died so completely that you couldn't even enter reincarnation. Could it be that you truly died just like that? Senluo Immortal Lord, as the Hall Master of Senluo Hall, was constantly busy, yet he uncharacteristically lingered in the same spot for several years. Seeing no signs of your resurrection, he finally departed. Time flew by, and a full 10,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. You finally revived in the barren ancient land of the 10 Directions land. You had perfectly endured a great tribulation of life and death. You broke through to half-step Supreme Immortal, and your strength greatly increased. Now, even the Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal in his prime would not be your match. In the 10 Directions land, as long as you are not besieged by a dozen or more Supreme Immortals, you are essentially unhindered. However, you did not act with a high profile. Your primary goal in the coming time was to comprehend the 10 Supreme Rules and imprint them within your own cave heaven world. By then, you would undoubtedly be the strongest ancestor of all time. Then, after severing the corpse and breaking through to Supreme Immortal, it was uncertain if you could contend with an Immortal Lord. For now, the main focus was on maintaining a low profile. Fearing that the Immortal Tao will of the 10 Directions land would target you again, your true body specifically teleported to the lower realm and entered the Chaos realm, leaving only 3 Tao bodies in the 10 Directions land. Comprehending rules would certainly be faster in the Immortal realm, but for you, it didn't matter, you only needed to shift your perspective to one of your Tao bodies. Even if a Tao body were to die from being targeted by the Immortal Tao will, your true body could continuously revive the dead Tao bodies. As long as you weren't noticed by an Immortal Lord or Immortal King, everything would be fine. Time flowed rapidly, and in a flash, another 300 years passed. You finally fully comprehended the 10th ranked Supreme Rule, the Rule of Order. Your cave heaven world, which was comparable in size to a middle thousand worlds, now had its once dense and chaotic various rules no longer disorganized or constantly conflicting, everything began to fall into perfect order. Your strength increased significantly once more. In these 300 years, besides your increase in strength, you also gained a complete understanding of what had transpired in the 10 Directions land and the Sin Blood Division headquarters during the 10,000 years since your rebirth. Empress Hua, Da Sui, and the Ancestor Realm Sin Blood were once again imprisoned in the Sin Prison after Senluo Immortal Lord's arrival. The Sin Blood below the Ancestor Realm were largely massacred. The 10 Directions land had not undergone significant changes in these 10,000 years. The main points were that Lu Yuan had entered Yuan Jing Heaven to cultivate, and Lu Ruyan temporarily assumed the position of Cave Master of Slanting Moon Ancient Cave. Wu Tian demon ancestor, beneath Mount Sumeru of the Western sect, failed once again in his attempt to break the seal. In the ancient Chaos Land, a prodigy named Ning Wuxuang rose like a comet. The first two were fine, but the third one was quite interesting. After investigation by your Tao body, this Ning Wuxuang was precisely Ning Chen, the son of destiny who had escaped from Red Cloud Land and whose whereabouts were unknown. The spatial passage opened by the Yuanxiang Supreme Immortal's remnant divine soul actually led him into a secret realm, where he gained a considerable opportunity, rapidly breaking through from heavenly immortal to immortal golden immortal. Afterward, he participated in the son-in-law selection competition of the Rain Clan, a top force in the ancient Chaos Land, successfully winning first place and becoming the Rain Clan's son-in-law. Subsequently, as if blessed by divine power, opportunities and fortuitous encounters came one after another, allowing him to break through several major realms in nearly 10,000 years, reaching the fifth stage of the Ancestor realm. His cultivation speed was truly rare in ancient and modern times, earning him great fame in the ancient Chaos Land, and his reputation was equally significant in other areas of the Ten Directions land. If one were to ignore the Sin Blood who died at the hands of Senluo Immortal Lord 10,000 years ago, he would be considered the #1 prodigy in the Ten Directions land for tens of millions of years. Of course, the dead Sin Blood was naturally you. You are now less than 1,000 years old, yet you are in existence capable of fighting a second corpse-severing supreme immortal across realms. In terms of cultivation speed and heaven-defying degree, you far surpassed Ning Chen, the son of destiny. What puzzled you was, why did Ning Chen like being a son-in-law so much? Could it be that he had an innate son-in-law immortal body? However, this son-in-law position in the Rain clan offered much better treatment than the one in the Su clan previously. Ning Chen had demonstrated sufficient value and talent in the Rain clan, so there was no possibility of subordinates looking down on him. After all, the luck of the Son of Destiny had begun to exert its influence, it would be difficult for him to remain ordinary. According to his cultivation speed, he should break through to Supreme Immortal in the next few thousand years, quickly reaching the pinnacle as the top expert in the Ten Directions land, leading all beings to resist the Great Tribulation, and then proceeding to the 9 heavens. You were not interested in Ning Chen's future development trajectory, but you were very interested in the opportunities he would encounter at any time. In these 300 years, your Tao body disguised itself as various individuals, and through coincidences, you snatched several significant opportunities from him, frustrating Ning Chen to the point of spitting blood. Why has everything been going wrong these past few hundred years? Was it because I lived too comfortably before? Or have I run out of good luck? However, what he didn't know was that it wasn't that his good luck had run out, but that you had been reborn. Time flowed, and soon another 400 years passed. You finally fully comprehended the 9th supreme rule, the rule of immortality. Even if your eternal life cave heaven were destroyed, as long as its world origin had not completely dissipated, it could quickly recover. This process was somewhat similar to rebirth from a drop of blood. Your life-saving ability greatly increased. At the same time, Ning Chen encountered another great opportunity. 384. The Ancient Spear of Zushan, the Flower of Immortal Demons. Release Wushan Demon Ancestor, 2 most powerful immortal objects. In the Forbidden Land of the Rain Clan, an astonishing phenomenon appeared. According to your Tao body's investigation, it is suspected that the supreme vicious immortal artifact within the Forbidden Land of the Immortal Slaughtering Ancient Spear is about to emerge. This immortal slaughtering ancient spear is an immortal artifact of unknown grade that fell 8 million years ago from Mozang Heaven, the third heaven. Where it landed, 10,000 miles around became barren, and a blood-shot desolate zone formed, where even a supreme immortal could not stay for long. An immortal lord once came from the 9 heavens to the 10 Directions land and told the people of the Rain clan that this object has a spirit and is waiting for its fated person. Your clan only needs to protect it well, and in the future, you will surely benefit. 8 million years have passed in a flash. Has the fated person finally appeared? You know that this fated person is most likely the Son of Destiny, Ning Chen. The pressure from this immortal slaughtering ancient spear was so immense that even your Tao body felt tremendous pressure, indicating it is likely a creation spirit treasure. So the question is, how can you get your hands on it? With your current strength, you cannot forcibly subdue an immortal artifact of this grade. On the other side, Ning Chen sensed waves of summons from the depths of the Rain clan's forbidden land. Could it be that immortal slaughtering ancient spear? Am I the fated person? Ning Chen's heart was agitated as he walked towards the depths of the forbidden land. Seeing that the blood Sha Qi in the Forbidden Land did not harm him, Ning Chen became even more convinced of his judgment. However, shortly after Ning Chen entered the Forbidden Land, his expression changed, and he retreated abruptly. The moment he pulled back, a sky full of red, enchanting flower petals fluttered down, covering the entire Forbidden Land. Immortal Demon Flower. Ning Chen and the Rain Clan experts outside the Forbidden Land recognized the flower, and their expressions instantly turned grim. This is one of the top 3 most poisonous substances in the 10 Directions land. Just a wisp of this flower can poison an ancestor immortal to death. Even if an ancestor immortal has an undying body, they can only die repeatedly amidst these flowers, unable to make any other moves. Only a supreme immortal who has severed their second corpse can move for a moment within the immortal demon flower. With this flower guarding it, Ning Chen simply cannot approach the immortal slaughtering ancient spear for now. How did the immortal demon flower suddenly appear? Everyone was puzzled. Only Ning Chen thought of the opportunities that had been continuously snatched away in recent centuries, and a shadow couldn't help but fall over his heart. These immortal demon flowers were naturally created by you. Although you are not the fated person, with the fated person right under your nose, he shouldn't even think of obtaining this treasure. If Ning Chen really obtained the immortal slaughtering ancient spear, it would pose a great threat to you, and you would never allow such a thing to happen. The current plan is to seal this place first and see if there is an opportunity to snatch this creation spirit treasure in the future. After Ning Chen returned, he cultivated even more diligently. No matter who was targeting him from behind the scenes, he would use his strength to break through all schemes and tricks. However, after he returned, he didn't persist for a few months before going to meet his concubine whom he kept outside. A live-in son-in-law generally isn't qualified to take concubines, but since Ning Chen is both a prodigy and an ancestor immortal, the Rain clan would simply turn a blind eye to such matters. 500 years passed in a blink of an eye. You have finally fully comprehended the disaster rule, which is ranked 8th on the rule list. Your eternal life cave heaven began to breathe the power of disaster. You can also bring disaster upon others. If you act with full power, you could destroy any single land in the 10 Directions land within 100 years, and turn 99% of the 10 Directions land into a dead zone within 1,000 years. This is the terror of the disaster rule. However, you feel that the current speed of comprehending the supreme rules is still too slow. You possess wondrous items such as the Chaos Heavenly Tablet, the Enlightenment Platform, and the Bronze Ancient Lamp, and you have the Infinite Enlightenment Talent, with terrifyingly high basic comprehension ability. Even so, it still takes several centuries. These supreme rules are indeed terrifyingly difficult. Next, if you want to further increase your speed, there are only 2 paths. One is to improve your basic comprehension ability, and the other is to obtain auxiliary wondrous items like the Chaos Heavenly Tablet. The former is already very difficult to achieve in the 10 Directions land, but there is a slight hope for the latter. It is said that the Western sect has a supreme immortal artifact called the 12-grade Merit Golden Lotus. This 12-grade Merit Golden Lotus does not directly increase comprehension ability like the Enlightenment Platform, but it can produce various beneficial effects by consuming karma power, which naturally includes comprehension ability. You have done many good deeds throughout your cultivation journey so far, so you must have a lot of karma, right? If you could obtain this 12-grade Merit Golden Lotus, it would certainly be like adding wings to a tiger. According to your Tao body's investigation, this 12-grade Merit Golden Lotus is being used by the Western sect to suppress the Wu Tian demon ancestor. If you snatch it away, it is highly likely to release the Wu Tian demon ancestor, causing great chaos in the Western sect. However, what does that have to do with you? You are not a member of the Western sect. No, it seems to have a lot to do with you. The Western sect's Wu Tian demon ancestor is a peerless fiend rarely seen in hundreds of millions of years. If he is released, he will surely cause boundless slaughter. This will indirectly lead to your karma being damaged as the one who released him. You need to demand compensation from the Wu Tian demon ancestor. In this case, the 12-grade Merit Golden Lotus is not urgent. Demanding compensation for losses from the Wu Tian demon ancestor is the top priority. He is a supreme immortal after all, he should have some good things on him, right? One of your Tao bodies quickly arrived at Lei land and infiltrated Mount Sumeru, the Western sect stronghold. Mount Sumeru was filled with Buddhist experts and guarded extremely strictly. After you arrived, you acted cautiously, spending half a month to finally enter the deepest part of Mount Sumeru, the place where the Wu Tian demon ancestor was sealed. The Wu Tian demon ancestor was in a deep sleep. You woke him up and said you were willing to save him, but on the condition that he had to offer you a treasure that would move you. The Wu Tian demon ancestor said he possessed a supreme immortal artifact called the 12-grade world-destroying Black Lotus, which was incredibly powerful. Both it and the 12-grade merit golden lotus were formed from the lotus seeds of a certain creation wondrous item from the 9 heavens. However, the biggest difference from the merit golden lotus is that this item requires karma to be wielded. If you could release him, he would offer this item as compensation. You frowned upon hearing this. Requires karma to be wielded. As a person of great virtue and kindness, where would you get any karma? This item is a bit of a burden for you. However, since you've come all this way, you can't return empty-handed. You made an immortal oath and took the 12-grade world-destroying Black Lotus from the Wu Tian demon ancestor. At this moment, Buddhist experts had already been alerted by the commotion of the Wu Tian demon ancestor's awakening and were rushing towards this location. Your Tao body suddenly unleashed its full strength, took the 12-grade merit golden lotus, and then destroyed the seal array of the Wu Tian demon ancestor, after which it fled without looking back. In any case, the item was already in hand, and the oath was completed. Now it was up to the Wu Tian demon ancestor himself to deal with the many Buddhist experts of the Western sect. You had no obligation to help him further. Your most important task now is to use the 12-grade merit golden lotus to improve your comprehension ability. 385. The Rules of Reincarnation, Amazing Changes. The Reincarnation Palace, All Brothers. After your Tao body departed, Mount Sumeru was engulfed in demonic flames, clearly indicating that a world-shaking battle had begun. At this moment, far from the battlefield, you began to try and use karma to control the 12-grade merit golden lotus. As a result, the 12-grade merit golden lotus showed no reaction at all, but the 12-grade world-destroying Black Lotus beside it caused quite a stir. What the hell? Do I not have karma? You were enraged. You tried a few more times, but the result remained the same. Unwilling to give up, you picked up the 12-grade world-destroying Black Lotus again, and it glowed brightly, burning a large hole in the void realm. Do I only have karma on me? Impossible, absolutely impossible. You angrily slammed the bowl-shaped world-destroying Black Lotus upside down on the ground. The immortal Tao will stole all your karma, didn't it? This damned heavenly Tao. You were angry for a while, then silently put away the 12-grade world-destroying Black Lotus. Forget it, just use it for now. After all, it's a supreme immortal artifact, throwing it away isn't your style. It's just that the karma light on it was particularly dazzling. You didn't understand why you only had karma and no karma. Perhaps this is the truth about the scarcity of good people. The heavenly Tao keeps giving good people karma, so who would dare to be a good person? A few days later, news came from Leiyu land. Wu Tian demon ancestor had escaped, suppressing the entire Western sect, and Amitabha was severely wounded and fled, his whereabouts unknown. The other 9 lands were all stunned by this news. Wu Tian demon ancestor had been suppressed under Mount Sumeru for tens of millions of years. Back then, Amitabha could fight him to a draw and, with the help of all the Buddhas, jointly seal him. Yet, after tens of millions of years, your Western sect couldn't even defeat a devil head who had been sealed for tens of millions of years. Has the Western sect not only failed to progress all these years but even regressed? This is outrageous. It's no wonder that the various forces reacted so strongly. After all, Wu Tian demon ancestor had always declared that he wanted to unify the 10 directions land. At that time, he already had the strength of a supreme immortal who had severed 2 corpses. After so many years, his strength seems to have grown stronger rather than weaker, and it will probably be a headache in the future. Of course, you didn't care whether Wu Tian demon ancestor wanted to continue unifying the 10 directions land. In fact, you even hoped that the 10 directions land would become as chaotic as possible. The more chaotic it was, the more dispersed the dimensional will's energy would be, and the less time it would have to target you. It was just that the 12-grade merit golden lotus was temporarily unusable, which bothered you a bit. However, you quickly thought of a solution. Since you didn't have karma, could you borrow some from others? So, your Tao body began to search for people who were as virtuous and benevolent as you. Once found, you would use the merit golden lotus to absorb all the karma from their bodies. When the karma reached a certain amount, you would use it to convert into comprehension ability amplification. You calculated that the 12-grade merit golden lotus could increase your basic comprehension ability by up to 17 times. However, in this state, the consumption of karma was also terrifyingly high, requiring continuous recharging. Soon, 35 years passed. With the help of the 12th-grade merit Golden Lotus, you successfully comprehended the reincarnation rule, which ranked 7th on the rule list. Your eternal life cave heaven already had a 6 paths of reincarnation system. At this moment, it was undoubtedly perfected to the extreme, and began to undergo a profound transformation. Your eternal life cave heaven vaguely sensed a magnificent system, which was a complete grand reincarnation system encompassing all planes in the chaos realm, including the various dimensions of the immortal realm. After you comprehended the complete reincarnation rule, your eternal life cave heaven seemed to have gained some kind of permission, allowing it to integrate into this grand reincarnation system of heaven and earth. This strange change greatly surprised you. After a period of contemplation, you discovered that this change brought 3 abilities to your eternal life cave heaven. First, you could sense other planes in the chaos realm along the reincarnation power. The more divine soul power invested, the greater the range of sensation. Second, you could perform ultra-long distance teleportation to the sensed planes along the reincarnation power. This process only required the consumption of immortal chi, without the need for cross-realm teleportation formations or the like. You could even directly teleport into the immortal realm. However, due to the high plane level of the immortal realm, an anchor point was required during teleportation. This anchor point could be your main body, Tao body, or an immortal artifact you had refined, and so on. Third, reincarnation rebirth. After your death, you could reincarnate with all your previous memories, and would not be turned into a blank slate by the reincarnation power. And you could also retain the reincarnation memories of others. Each of these 3 abilities was heaven-defying. Such good things must be put to good use. Thinking about your urgent need for karma, an idea instantly popped into your head. Weren't there novels in your previous life about main god space or something, where points could be exchanged for various items? You could also establish a similar organization, allowing reincarnators to go to various planes to earn karma, and then use that karma to exchange for various things they needed from you. Anyway, you had a large amount of unused resources on hand. Instead of letting them rot in a corner, it was better to convert them into what you needed. Soon, you had the general framework ready. You established the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace, calling yourself the 6 Paths of Reincarnation Master, and transformed your eternal life cave heaven into a reincarnation space capable of accommodating billions of living beings. You also formulated a series of karma exchange standards. Of course, the pricing power was yours, and as for the price. Now, everything was ready, only lacking reincarnators. You decided to select the first batch of reincarnators from the Sin blood plane. After all, it was best to keep the benefits within the family. Now that you were successful, you should also give some benefits to your own people. Anyone who was willing to work hard in the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace was your brother. You selected 10,000 brothers who were at the Saint Realm and above from the 8 major Sin blood planes. And sent these brothers to Plaza number 1 of the Reincarnation space. Reincarnation Plaza number 1 was empty, surrounded by magnificent palaces, with a huge crimson light sphere in the center. When everyone arrived here, they were suddenly startled, and then found that the air was actually filled with immortal chi, which made them overjoyed. Of course, they could not absorb the immortal chi in the reincarnation space into their bodies. It wasn't that you were disloyal and didn't give benefits to your brothers, but that they were too weak and needed more training. Then, your voice sounded in everyone's minds. I am the 6 Paths of Reincarnation Master of the Immortal Realm. This place is the reincarnation land of all heavens established by me. You may call it the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace. Here, you can accept missions and go to thousands of planes to obtain karma. 386. Hundreds of millions of reincarnations, whoosh in action. Destruction, origin, great strength improvement. As long as you have enough karma, you can purchase everything you desire in Reincarnation Heavenly Palace, even returning to reality. The surrounding palaces are your resting places, and that red orb is where you accept missions and exchange items. Good luck to you all. Upon hearing this, everyone came to the red orb with a mix of belief and doubt, and indeed, a lot of information appeared before their eyes. Pulling the exchange list to the very beginning, it was full of divine cultivation techniques and divine artifacts that could create heavens and earths. These were, of course, meant to bluff people, and the karma required was despairingly high. With the strength of these lower realm reincarnators, being able to exchange for some emperor cultivation techniques, emperor weapons, or undying divine medicines was already quite good. Even if there were many great emperors among them who had lived for several lifetimes, they would still need to accumulate karma for a long time to exchange for even the lowest grade immortal cultivation techniques and immortal artifacts. Even so, many people's hearts pounded. Effort brings rewards. For everyone, this was no less than a heaven-shaking opportunity. Soon, the boldest group of people began to accept karma missions, heading to various planes to earn karma power. The way to accept missions was much more flexible than in the main god space. You did not enforce mandatory team-ups, instead, you let these people act on their own. They could go solo, form teams, or even establish schools. In any case, the core principle was only one: to continuously provide karma for your cultivation. 3 years passed quickly. The first batch of 10,000 reincarnators had all completed missions and confirmed that reincarnation heavenly palace truly existed. Of course, the death rate was also terrifyingly high. In just 3 years, 60% of the people had already died. You would certainly not set up missions that would send your brothers to their deaths. Those who died were not diligent, they were not your brothers. In these 3 years, you had basically perfected the operation mode of reincarnation heavenly palace to the extreme. Next, it was about continuously recruiting strong individuals from various planes ahem, inviting new brothers to contribute to the construction of various planes and build a better future together. To ensure the normal operation of reincarnation heavenly palace, you even specially dispatched a Tao body to be responsible for this matter. Another 10 years passed, and reincarnation heavenly palace quickly grew from a scale of 10,000 people to hundreds of millions. To reduce variables, currently, reincarnation heavenly palace is entirely composed of people from the lower realm. Although their strength is a bit weak, as long as there are enough people, it is sufficient to maintain your daily consumption of the 12th-grade merit golden lotus. In addition to the booming development of reincarnation heavenly palace, Wu Tian demon ancestor in the 10 directions land of the immortal realm also made significant moves. He had already led his Wu Tian demonic sect to unify Lei Yu land and established a ground Buddhist kingdom. That's right, it was a Buddhist kingdom, not a demonic kingdom. Wu Tian demon ancestor himself even called himself Wu Tian Buddha ancestor. After driving away Amitabha, he did not go on a killing spree against the monks of Mount Sumeru. Those who were willing to pledge allegiance to him were accepted. Those who were not willing to pledge allegiance were imprisoned. Furthermore, he vigorously propagated Buddhism in Lei Yu land, increasing Buddhist followers and expanding the Buddhist power. His actions undoubtedly left many people deeply puzzled. Wu Tian demon ancestor was a genuine cultivator of the demonic Tao. Even if he wanted to whitewash himself, the demonic qi on his body could not be washed away. According to normal logic, this was definitely an act of aiding the enemy. Something abnormal must be demonic. Why exactly did he do this? Moreover, his actions also caused extreme dissatisfaction in 2 people. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Amitabha. He was the legitimate Buddha ancestor of the 10 directions land, and Wu Tian demon ancestor doing this, even establishing a ground Buddhist kingdom, was undoubtedly competing with him for Buddhist luck. The second one was Yu. He, a devil head, after escaping, not only didn't go on a killing spree but also went around being benevolent and propagating Buddhism. Thinking about what you yourself did in the Tianhuang divine dynasty, it made you, the holy blood, seem more like a devil head. You hoped he would quickly straighten up and show his true devil head nature, not confuse the public. Time flies like an arrow. 30 years later, you finally comprehended the 6th-ranked supreme rule, the rule of destruction. Your application of power reached the pinnacle of perfection. The same immortal techniques, now in your hands, could unleash more than 10 times their destructive power. Below a supreme immortal who has severed 3 corpses, you should be unmatched. Currently, there are no supreme immortals who have severed 3 corpses in the 10 directions land. Because after severing 3 corpses, supreme immortals in the 10 directions land can no longer advance and will generally go to the 9 heavens to seek opportunities for further breakthrough. In the 10 directions land, you are an invincible existence. Even if other supreme immortals attacked together, they would be hard-pressed to be your opponent. However, this is only the 6th-ranked rule. Ahead, there are still the 5 supreme rules: chaos, fate, time, space, and origin. The road is long and arduous. You cannot be reckless and must continue to develop discreetly. You suspect that even if you haven't broken through to Supreme Immortal, you will be invincible within the Supreme Immortal realm once you comprehend all rules. It should still be very difficult to contend with an Immortal Lord. After all, an Immortal Lord has already transcended rules. In these 30 years, a small number of lower realm reincarnators from Reincarnation Heavenly Palace had already ascended to the Immortal Realm. However, they found that after ascension, they could not sense Reincarnation Heavenly Palace. This was naturally done intentionally by you to avoid attracting the attention of Immortal Realm powers. Their sudden disappearance and appearance in the Immortal Realm, as well as their sudden increase in strength, would certainly attract the attention of Immortal Realm cultivators. Reincarnation Heavenly Palace, for you, is currently only for acquiring karma, not for expanding territory. As long as karma is sufficient, you don't want to be too high profile. Those reincarnators who had already ascended, at the moment they entered reincarnation space, had already been forced by you to make an immortal oath not to disclose anything about reincarnation space. For now, it's better to put them on hold and reactivate them when your strength is sufficient or when there are other uses. Time flowed, and another 50 years passed quickly. You comprehended the 5th ranked origin rule on the rule immortal ranking. The origin of your eternal life cave heaven greatly increased, and the cave heaven world began to expand continuously. All reincarnators received a reincarnation space upgrade notification. All reincarnators within the cave heaven were moved out, and reincarnators currently on missions were temporarily unable to return. 3 days later, this expansion stopped. At this time, Eternal Life Cave Heaven was already the size of a major 1,000 worlds. Calling it Eternal Life Cave Heaven was no longer appropriate, so you simply called it Chongsheng World. The size of Chongsheng World is related to the quality and quantity of the immortal power in your body. The huge changes in Chongsheng World at this time greatly increased your strength again. You believe that you can definitely contend with a supreme immortal who has severed 3 corpses for a while. As the saying goes, when one person attains the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. Your strength has greatly increased. Next, it's time to seek benefits for your brothers. 387. Reincarnation Upgrade. Wushan Fangs, Teleport. After that, you spent another 4 days rebuilding the reincarnation space. When the reincarnators returned, the original reincarnation area was much more spacious and had many new buildings, such as the Life and Death Arena, Auction House, and Trading Market. Most importantly, cross-regional teleportation arrays also appeared. Each area of the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace has a limit of 10,000 people, but when performing missions, they occasionally encounter people from other areas, which also lets all reincarnators know that their area is not the only one. But no one knew exactly how many areas there were. Many people thought there shouldn't be more than 100. And now that this cross-regional teleportation array had appeared, seeing the other 9,999 corresponding areas on it, all reincarnators were greatly shocked. Is this the mighty power of the 6 paths of reincarnation master? Truly awe-inspiring. Time quickly passed another 10 years. In the more than 100 years after his escape, Wu Tian demon ancestor had basically transformed the entire Lei Yu land into a ground Buddhist kingdom. Within the ground Buddhist kingdom, besides the original Wu Tian demonic sect's core members, only Buddhist cultivators were allowed to exist. Those unwilling to cultivate Buddhism were expelled from the realm by Wu Tian demon ancestor. He is truly benevolent, you could cry. Your Tao body could no longer bear it and went to ask him what he ultimately wanted to do. Wu Tian demon ancestor, seeing you, his benefactor, arrive, first treated you grandly, and then told you a story. Tens of millions of years ago, the first protector of Buddhism was named Kanera. During his missionary process, he fell in love. Amitabha believed he was impure and not only expelled him from the Western sect but also sent Vajra to kill his beloved. From then on, Kanera became a demon, changed his name to Wu Tian, and vowed to slaughter all Buddhist cultivators in the 10 directions land to avenge his beloved. Your Tao body asked in confusion, but what you are doing now is completely strengthening the Buddhist forces. Wu Tian demon ancestor smiled without speaking, saying that you would know after some time. Not long after, the ground Buddhist kingdom established by Wu Tian demon ancestor began to attack the neighboring Dragon Bone land. A Cloud Dragon, Supreme Immortal of the Dragon God Alliance in the Dragon Bone Land, knew he was no match for Wu Tian and quickly sought help from other Supreme Immortals. A Amitabha, who was in exile, naturally rushed to help first and also helped Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal persuade other Supreme Immortals. Over the years, Amitabha had not stopped instigating other top forces to besiege Wu Tian. But Wu Tian demon ancestor's strength was formidable, and many forces adopted an attitude of indifference. And now, seeing Wu Tian starting to attack other places, they finally couldn't sit still. Today it's the Dragon Bone Land, tomorrow it might be other places. No one wanted their territory to be threatened by Wu Tian. The Supreme Immortals from the ancient God Land, Red Cloud Land, and Kang Land, which were closer to the Lei Yu Land, united, along with Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal and Amitabha, a total of 8 Supreme Immortals, and attacked Wu Tian. Amitabha originally thought Wu Tian demon ancestor would surely be defeated this time, but he didn't expect Wu Tian demon ancestor's strength to have greatly advanced again during this period, actually fighting 8 opponents without falling into a disadvantage. This kind of power was almost at the level of severing the 3 corpses. Even the Supreme Immortals secretly watching the battle were greatly surprised. Your Dao body, watching the show from afar, was also a bit surprised. How could Wu Tian demon ancestor's strength increase so quickly? This speed was almost half of yours. You had been increasing your strength by comprehending the Supreme Dao during this time, but what was Wu Tian relying on? This great battle ultimately ended in a draw. The Dragon Bone Land side began to seek new external aid again. And Amitabha also released a shocking piece of news. He suspected that Wu Tian demon ancestor could enhance his strength by absorbing Buddha power. This could also explain why Wu Tian's strength did not decrease but increased after being sealed for tens of millions of years, and why he later painstakingly established and expanded the ground Buddhist kingdom. As soon as these words came out, the forces in the 10 Directions Land who were watching from the sidelines also couldn't sit still. If this were true, Wu Tian would only grow stronger and stronger until everyone combined could not resist him. Soon, 3 more Supreme Immortals joined the demon-subduing alliance against Wu Tian. 2 of these 3 were old acquaintances of yours, Sky Desolate God Emperor and Battle Clan Old Ancestor Zan Kuang. The remaining one was Rain Clan Old Ancestor Yu Yin. Now, except for the most mysterious Burial Sky Sect in the Burial Sky Land and the Purple Firmament Divine Institute in the Dao Ancient Land, which always ignored worldly affairs, all top forces in the entire 10 Directions Land had joined the demon-subduing alliance. 11 Supreme Immortals once again joined forces and attacked Wu Tian's ground Buddhist kingdom. At this time, Wu Tian demon ancestor finally revealed his fangs, devouring most of the Buddhist cultivators in the ground Buddhist kingdom, and his strength once again surged, blocking everyone's offensive. Your Dao body secretly clicked his tongue. Good heavens, he's treating Buddhist cultivators as reserve food. The 2 sides thus confronted each other for over 20 years, and your main body finally comprehended the 4th-ranked space rule. Your Chongsheng world space became increasingly solid, almost on par with the space of the 10 Directions Land, and 2 layers of deep space appeared. The complexity of space greatly increased. Now, to completely destroy the Chongsheng world, one can only do so by destroying all the deep space, and then they will be surprised to find that your Chongsheng world has actually returned to its original state. Among the Supreme Immortals, it was already difficult for anyone to destroy your Chongsheng world. Within the Chongsheng world, the reincarnation heavenly palace's cross-realm deployment speed also greatly increased. Besides the changes in the Chongsheng world, your grasp of the essence of space reached a higher level. You gained a new ability, a teleportation. You don't need to open space passages or anything. With just a thought, you can appear anywhere in the 10 Directions Land. This ability is not possessed by immortal lords, only immortal kings can do it. Your life-saving ability and combat strength have greatly increased. Next, it's the 3rd-rank time rule. Who knows what changes will occur after comprehending it. Your main body continued to cultivate diligently. Of your 3 Dao bodies, one was presiding over the affairs of the reincarnation heavenly palace, while the other 2 were starting a new round of robbery in the 10 Directions Land. And now that you have the ability to teleport, you can practically rob wherever you want. Coupled with your strength, you can rob whomever you want. You swore to scrape the 10 directions land clean of all good things, taking everything. Thus, the strongholds of the major forces began to be robbed again. These thieves not only robbed treasuries but also people. Many immortal cultivators didn't even react before their storage immortal artifacts disappeared. As chaos erupted in the rear, the supreme immortal old ancestors on the front line couldn't help but return to defend and resolve internal troubles. And then, they were robbed too. 388. Grab like crazy, brush merit. Time destiny, fame rises. That mysterious thief not only came and went without a trace, but his strength was also terrifyingly high. He had at least undergone a second corpse severance. Many people were puzzled. For such a master, many things should be useless to him, so why did he still snatch everything? Many things may indeed be useless to you, but the reincarnation heavenly palace can use them. Anyway, adhering to the principle of, no harm in taking what's free, anything encountered would not be let go. Additionally, to prevent those who were robbed from wildly speculating about the resurrection of Sin blood, you began leaving your name everywhere. You are Wu Fa Devil Ancestor, the senior brother of Wu Tian Demon Ancestor. This made everyone suddenly realize why you snatched everything. It was to disrupt these forces. Many people feared that with your formidable strength, if you were to join forces with Wu Tian Demon Ancestor, what could anyone use to stop them? Their worries were clearly superfluous. You only wanted Wu Tian to take the blame and had no intention of helping him achieve his imperial ambitions. However, your actions did indirectly help Wu Tian. It greatly reduced his pressure. 3 years later, the 10 Directions land was filled with wails of sorrow. Since the appearance of Wu Fa Devil Ancestor, the beings of the 10 Directions land truly felt the pain. Although Wu Tian Demon Ancestor was terrifying, he was far away and posed little threat to most people. But Wu Fa Devil Ancestor was different. He robbed everyone he met. After 3 years, anything of value in the 10 Directions land had basically been snatched by him at least once. Now, the 10 Directions land no longer looked like an immortal realm, it was almost a desolate ruin. The Demon Subduing Alliance even called out to Wu Tian Demon Ancestor, stating that if he could make his senior brother, Wu Fa Devil Ancestor, stop robbing, they would be willing to cede the Dragon Bone land to the Ground Buddhist Kingdom. Wu Tian Demon Ancestor knew it was mostly your doing, so he did not deny your identity, sneering, my senior brother even robbed the Lei Yu land without hesitation. Do you think he would give his junior brother face? The reincarnators who underwent ascension to the immortal realm also complained, how can the immortal realm be so poor? They thought about the treasures in the reincarnation heavenly palace, which seemed inexhaustible, but after ascension, even an immortal stone became a hot commodity. If they had known this, they would not have ascended. After ascension, they could no longer sense the reincarnation heavenly palace. Of course, some clever reincarnators were already finding ways to escape to the lower realm, only seeking to re-enter the reincarnation heavenly palace. They refused to live such a poor life for another day. Time flew, and another 40 years passed. You finally comprehended the time rule, which ranked third on the rule immortal list. You could rewind, stop, and accelerate time in the Chongsheng world. The acceleration could reach up to 100 times. Even in the immortal realm, you could change the flow of time within a 10,000-mile radius by 10 times. At this point, you had no rivals below the immortal lord rank. You could even control time, so how could other supreme immortals contend with you? Afterward, you upgraded the reincarnation space within the Chongsheng world, adding a time cultivation chamber. 1 day outside equaled 100 days inside. In the eyes of the reincarnators, this was undoubtedly astonishing. They all marveled at the immeasurable power of the 6 paths of reincarnation master. Of course, the price of this time cultivation chamber was not cheap, forcing more reincarnators to frantically earn karma. After comprehending the time rule, besides providing some benefits to your brothers, it also greatly benefited your own cultivation. In the immortal realm, you could change the time flow by 10 times. This meant that your cultivation speed could increase by another 10 times. This made the speed at which reincarnators earned karma unable to keep up with the consumption rate of the 12-grade merit Golden Lotus. It seemed it was time to lift the restrictions on the immortal realm. There were already over 1,000 reincarnators in the immortal realm, and on this day, they finally sensed the call of the reincarnation heavenly palace. Seeing the familiar place, everyone burst into tears of joy. They had finally left that poor place, the immortal realm, and returned to the prosperous reincarnation heavenly palace. Most of the ascended reincarnators had been in the immortal realm for over 5 years. 5 years. Did they know how they had spent these 5 years? They were basically either hiding or being bullied. It was nowhere near as comfortable as focusing on improving their strength in the reincarnation heavenly palace. Other reincarnators, seeing these ascended individuals, quickly inquired about the situation in the immortal realm. Hearing that the immortal realm was full of rogue cultivators and terribly poor, the reincarnators couldn't help but show disdain. However, in the past, once someone ascended, they could no longer return to the reincarnation heavenly palace. Had the 6 paths of reincarnation master also opened up the immortal realm? Everyone checked the available planes and indeed found that the immortal realm had been added. The immortal realm was the supreme plane among the myriad realms. They never expected it to be incorporated into the reincarnation system by the 6 paths of reincarnation master. Everyone couldn't help but shout with cracking voices, "6 paths of reincarnation master is awesome." There were also karma missions in the immortal realm. Although the danger level was higher, the amount of karma was abundant. Many people quickly accepted missions and went to the immortal realm to test the waters. And in the 10 Directions land, a group of benevolent and charitable cultivators gradually appeared. Many reincarnators discovered that the people in the immortal realm were truly too poor. When they exchanged resources in the reincarnation heavenly palace and gave them to the people of the immortal realm, they could actually still earn karma. This led to a rapid increase in resellers. However, the rogue cultivators in the immortal realm were too rampant. Things given out were snatched shortly after. Given and snatched, snatched and given. They couldn't finish earning. They simply couldn't finish earning. After opening up the immortal realm, your karma increased at a visible rate, gradually keeping up with your tenfold consumption. And all you had to do was transfer from your left hand to your right. You never expected the immortal Tao will to be so generous. It seemed you had misunderstood it before. 6 years later, under tenfold time acceleration, you successfully comprehended the destiny rule. All deductions and fate arts in the world evolved from the destiny rule. Having comprehended the destiny rule, you were basically outside the 3 realms and not within the 5 elements. Now, even without the Grand Mist Heavenly Palace and the Void Destiny talent, ordinary immortal lords would find it difficult to deduce anything about you. With these 2, even an ordinary immortal king would likely find it hard to deduce information about you. Besides this, you could also easily see through the destinies of others. This, in turn, was more beneficial for you to select reincarnators. Most people with significant future achievements also had various extraordinary qualities in their early stages. Such people generally wouldn't be inefficient at earning karma. In these 6 years, the reincarnation heavenly palace gradually gained some reputation in the 10 Directions land. After all, a group of people doing good deeds everywhere was simply too strange. It was hard not to attract attention. Since reincarnators could not reveal any information about the reincarnation heavenly palace, the cultivators of the 10 Directions land called the power behind them, the Hall of Benevolence. 389. Chaos, Transcendent Mark. The immortal king sees us, like an ant seeing the blue sky. Why exactly did the people of the benevolent hall do this? Even many ancestor immortals had tried to investigate. Due to the existence of the immortal oath on the reincarnators, they naturally returned without success. The ground Buddhist kingdom and the demon-subduing alliance have been in a standoff for so many years, and the battle situation has also changed. A Wu Tian demon ancestor has devoured a massive amount of Buddha power over the years, and his strength has advanced further, comparable to a supreme immortal who has undergone 3 corpse cuttings, directly crushing the demon-subduing alliance's defense line. Just when everyone thought the demon-subduing alliance's momentum was gone, the most mysterious Burial Sky sect of the Burial Sky land made a move. The Burial Sky old ancestor of the Burial Sky sect appeared, took out a 3 lives bronze coffin, and forcibly suppressed the greatly strengthened Wu Tian demon ancestor into it. The supreme immortals were both surprised and delighted. The crisis in the 10 Directions land was temporarily resolved. Unexpectedly, the Burial Sky old ancestor shook his head and said that the 3 lives bronze coffin could only suppress Wu Tian demon ancestor for 10 years. The supreme immortals frowned deeply. 10 years would pass in a blink of an eye. What should be done then? The burial sky old ancestor, however, smiled mysteriously, saying there was a way, then clapped his hands and said, "Come out." A handsome man at the peak of the progenitor realm appeared on the field, and it was Ning Chen. The Rain clan old ancestor, Yu Yin, was greatly astonished. Ning Chen had only gone to the burial sky sect, and in just over 100 years, he had cultivated from the 5th level of the progenitor realm to the 10th level of the progenitor realm. The burial sky old ancestor pointed at Ning Chen and said, "This person is the son of destiny of the 10 directions land, born in response to a calamity. If we fully assist him in breakthrough to Supreme Immortal, and then retrieve the immortal slaughtering ancient spear from the Rain clan's forbidden land, we will surely be able to severely injure Wu Tian demon ancestor and seal him again." Everyone was greatly surprised. They had long heard of Ning Chen's deeds. Aside from not being comparable to the Sin Blood who died at the hands of an immortal lord a few hundred years ago, he was almost a flawless prodigy in all aspects. They never expected that he was actually the son of destiny, born in response to a calamity. It seems the calamity he was meant to face should be the calamity of Wu Tian demon ancestor. At this moment, the old ancestor of the Golden Giant clan suddenly asked, after solving Wu Tian, what about his even more powerful senior brother, Wu Fa devil ancestor? The burial sky old ancestor's face darkened. That fellow comes and goes without a trace, no one even knows what he looks like. Wasn't the golden ancestor's remark just disheartening everyone? Ning Chen then stepped forward and said, "No matter. When I break through to Supreme Immortal, I have a very high probability of awakening the talent, Heaven's Favor. By then, even if Wu Fa and Wu Tian come together, they won't be my opponents." Everyone exchanged glances. The so-called Heaven's Favor is when the immortal Tao will descend its own power, causing the Sun of Destiny's strength to surge. This talent has only a 1/5 chance of awakening among Sons of Destiny. Everyone was not sure if Ning Chen could truly awaken Heaven's Favor, but at this point, there was no other option, they could only try a desperate measure. The Supreme Immortals first sent Ning Chen to the Fire Cloud Cave, using the 3 live stone to feign death and overcome the great life and death tribulation. Then, they did not impart their corpse-cutting experience to him, but instead guided him to cut out his first corpse, the benevolent corpse. 9 years later, Ning Chen successfully cut out his benevolent corpse, break through to Supreme Immortal, and simultaneously obtained the Heaven's Favor talent. Everyone was overjoyed, it seemed the 10 directions land was finally going to return to normal. Afterward, they went to the ancient Chaos land to retrieve the immortal slaughtering ancient spear, only to find that it had disappeared without a trace. Ning Chen said, "No matter. This must have been done by Wu Fa devil ancestor. Once I deal with Wu Tian, I will go settle accounts with him." At the same time, you finally comprehended the number 1 supreme rule of chaos. At the moment you imprinted it in the Chongsheng world, the scene before your eyes suddenly changed. What you saw was no sky, no land, just a vast chaos. After an unknown period, a giant of unknown height, wielding a giant axe, suddenly swung it, and chaos first opened, and heaven and earth began to appear. After creating heaven and earth, the giant seemed to have exhausted all his strength. His body fell heavily, transforming into the sun, moon, and stars, mountains and lakes. Before he died, the giant murmured, "Comprehending all laws of the Tao can lead to transcendence, but alas, I was only 1 step away. I shall leave this item for future generations." Afterward, the image shattered, transforming into a 9-colored mark that leapt out of the myriad worlds and was not among the 5 elements, appearing within your body. As soon as your immortal sense touched this mark, you instantly entered a strange place. Here, there was no sense of time or space. Looking around, there were only 8 tall, majestic, hazy, blurry black figures. With a thought, you used infinite enlightenment and discovered that the Tao and laws of these 8 figures were too powerful, which caused this effect that made it difficult for you to perceive them. You should know that you were currently in existence who had comprehended all first-grade rules. Even so, the 8 black figures still made you look up to them in awe. At this moment, one of the black figures spoke, "You are the 67th existence in your epic to obtain the transcendent mark." If you cannot reach our realm within 1,000 years, the transcendent mark will leave you. Although this is an impossible feat, you can certainly try your best. Upon hearing this, you were greatly shocked. This thing actually has a time limit. You hurriedly asked, may I ask, seniors, are you immortal kings? The highest realm you currently knew was immortal king. If you could cultivate to immortal king within 1,000 years, you still had a little confidence. Unexpectedly, the 8 black figures laughed heartily, and another black figure said, immortal kings seeing us are like ants seeing the sky. You were greatly alarmed. Just as you were about to continue asking, you felt a dizzying sensation and returned to your secluded cultivation spot. If it weren't for the 9-colored mark radiating a hazy light within your body, you would have thought everything just now was an illusion. What was that place just now? What realm were those 8 black figures exactly? What was the purpose of this transcendent mark? Many questions still lingered in your mind. However, when your immortal sense touched the 9-colored mark again, it showed no reaction. You asked the golden figure in the Hongmengdao Palace what the origin of the 9-colored mark in your body was. The golden figure said blankly, what 9-colored mark? Where is a 9-colored mark? Alright, it seems this thing's rank is too high. Even if the golden figure is the accompanying spirit of a creation spirit treasure, it cannot perceive it. And now that you have comprehended all supreme rules, you can begin to break through to supreme immortal. You had already overcome the great life and death tribulation. Next, you only needed to cut the corpse. Cutting the corpse requires supreme immortal rank treasures to serve as the corpse cutting object. Supreme immortal artifacts and supreme immortal items are both acceptable. After your Tao body went on a massive looting spree in the 10 Directions land, you now possessed no less than 20 supreme immortal rank immortal items. However, with your current strength, which is comparable to an ordinary immortal lord, supreme immortal rank treasures would struggle to bear your karma. At the very least, you would need creation wonders or creation spirit treasures. 390. Enlightenment and advancement, breakthrough to immortality. Invincible in the world, the last hope. The Hongmengdao Palace and immortal slaughtering ancient spear in your hands are an acquired creation marvel and an acquired creation spirit treasure, respectively. Once something becomes a tool for severing a corpse, its potential is locked. The Hongmengdao Palace can still advance, so you naturally wouldn't use it to sever a corpse. As for the immortal slaughtering ancient spear, this treasure specifically prepared for the Son of Destiny, Ning Chen, you have not yet subdued it. You took out the unruly immortal slaughtering ancient spear and slapped it. The immortal slaughtering ancient spear crackled and popped, and in a short while, its spirit was directly erased by you. See, wasn't that easy to subdue? However, you do not intend to use the immortal slaughtering ancient spear for your first corpse severance. The 3 corpses are divided into the good corpse, evil corpse, and self corpse. The easiest to sever is definitely the good corpse. Only some extremely wicked individuals, or old ancestors who walk the path of destruction, might find it easiest to sever the evil corpse. The immortal slaughtering ancient spear has too much sin blood chi, it is most suitable for severing the evil corpse. Since you are severing the good corpse first, you naturally don't plan to use it. If not it, then who? The Enlightenment Platform. Every 100 years, the Hongmengdao Palace can produce a wisp of primal chaos purple chi that can allow supreme immortal rank treasures to advance into creation marvels. All the primal chaos purple chi produced over these years has been fed to the Enlightenment Platform by you. It has already begun transforming into an acquired creation marvel. At that time, its effectiveness will not only greatly increase, but you will also be able to use it as a tool for severing a corpse. Currently, the Enlightenment Platform is placed by you in the Chongsheng world, rapidly transforming under 100-fold time acceleration. It will soon complete its transformation. Meanwhile, in the 10 Directions land, Wu Tian Devil Ancestor has broken free from the 3 Lives bronze coffin and is once again battling Ning Chen and others. Although Ning Chen has just entered the Supreme Immortal, he has the favor of Heaven's Will, which can increase his strength by 100-fold at its peak, comparable to a Supreme Immortal who has severed 3 corpses. Under his leadership, everyone directly heavily injured Wu Tian Devil Ancestor and sealed him. This time, it should be enough to seal him for a long time. There's no fear of Wu Tian escaping again in the short term. Although Wu Tian was dealt with, Wu Fa Devil Ancestor is nowhere to be found. This person has been plundering everywhere, leaving the 10 Directions land completely impoverished. Everyone's hatred for him is even greater than for Wu Tian. Wu Tian has been resealed, so his senior brother shouldn't think of escaping either. Everyone began a carpet search for Wu Fa Devil Ancestor's whereabouts, vowing to drag him out. Many reincarnators were affected by this, as many of the items they had given out were things stolen by Wu Fa Devil Ancestor. 1 month later, under a 100-fold acceleration, the Enlightenment platform finally completed its transformation. It advanced from a supreme immortal item to an acquired creation marvel. You tested its effect. Its amplification of your comprehension ability increased from dozens of times to over 300 times. With both time acceleration and a creation marvel, an invincible path seems to be unfolding before you. Next, you plan to use the Enlightenment platform to sever the good corpse and break through to Supreme Immortal. However, the difficulty of severing the good corpse seems to be higher than you imagined. Even with a 100-fold acceleration in the Chongsheng world, you estimate it will take 3 years of external time. Without the 100-fold acceleration, it would take you over 360 years. It's understandable, after all, it's a breakthrough to Supreme Immortal, a higher difficulty is reasonable. What worries you, though, is this. Severing the easiest good corpse takes so long. Will severing the more difficult evil corpse take several millennia? You took out the immortal slaughtering ancient spear and curiously tried it. The result left you stunned. 1 day, only 1 day. Am I, the greatly virtuous and benevolent 6 paths of reincarnation master, some kind of heinous person? Isn't this too exaggerated? After your revival, you established the reincarnation heavenly palace, which required all members to do good deeds and accumulate karma. Fearing that reincarnators would not be proactive in doing good deeds, you even introduced various punitive and reward measures. Honestly, in the 10 Directions land and even the entire immortal realm, who could be more virtuous than you? And yet, you're being slandered like this, aren't you? You gritted your teeth, trembling with anger. But your body was very honest, and you began to sever the evil corpse. You know this is the immortal Tao's will deliberately retaliating against you. But you will ultimately use your strength and actions to break all prejudice. 1 day later, you used the immortal slaughtering ancient spear to sever the evil corpse. You break through to the Supreme Immortal, and your strength increased dozens of times. You had a feeling of being invincible, unmatched in heaven and earth. Very good, very powerful. With 1 step, you arrived from the Chongsheng world to the 10 Directions land. To sever the most difficult self-corpse among the 3 corpses, you must settle all karma. Otherwise, it's very easy to fall into a heart demon at that time. Although you are still severing the good corpse, you can already prepare in advance to settle karma. You appeared openly, your aura vast and mighty, quickly attracting the attention of the Supreme Immortals in the 10 Directions land. Because you revealed your true appearance, all the Supreme Immortals were greatly shocked. Sin blood. The sin blood from over 10,000 years ago is still alive. Many of them showed deep-seated hatred. Such as Ning Chen, Sky Desolate God Emperor, Golden Ancestor, Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal. It doesn't seem like many people, but everyone had a grudge. Most of the forces to which these Supreme Immortals belonged were robbed by you in the name of robbing the rich to help the poor, 10,000 years ago. Even those who were spared, such as Shenya, Scarlet Cloud Sect, Fiery Cloud Cave, Yuha Divine Dynasty, Rain Clan, etc., were plundered again 10,000 years later by your Tao body, which transformed into Wu Fa Devil Ancestor. Ning Chen was the first to scold, Sin blood, you actually dare to show yourself. You laughed, didn't I just see that you all were having such a hard time looking for me? What, you are Wu Fa Devil Ancestor? Many people were startled. Wu Fa Devil Ancestor was an existence comparable to a 3-corpse severed being, far stronger than the sin blood of 10,000 years ago. They didn't expect the two to be the same person. Sky Desolate God Emperor stepped forward and sneered, Sin blood is sin blood, it cannot change its nature of doing evil. Subsequently, more than a dozen Supreme Immortals surrounded you, attacking. Wu Fa Devil Ancestor's strength was obvious to all. No one dared to be careless, directly bringing out the combined attack formation used against Wu Tian Devil Ancestor to deal with you. Unexpectedly, you simply grabbed with a large hand, pulling all the Supreme Immortals into your palm. Immortal Lord, this is definitely Immortal Lord strength. Everyone's faces changed drastically. In just over 10,000 years, the Sin blood had breakthrough from old ancestor to immortal lord. What a joke! Even Ning Chen, the son of destiny, was far from having this cultivation speed. But the facts were before them, they had no choice but to believe. At this moment, Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal said, "Is there a possibility that he is only a Supreme Immortal?" Everyone shook their heads like rattles. Having Supreme Immortal strength in an old ancestor body had appeared several times in history. Having Immortal Lord strength in a Supreme Immortal body was simply unheard of. Everyone looked towards Ning Chen, the son of destiny. He possessed the favor of heaven's will and was the only hope for breaking the situation. 391. Ning Chen's death. Destroy Zishao Divine Court and break into Yuan Jingtian. After his breakthrough to Supreme Immortal, Ning Chen could already communicate with the dimensional will of the 10 Directions land. Just as Ning Chen recounted his perilous situation to it, a loud bang echoed in the sky, and a purple divine lightning bolt, capable of harming an immortal lord, struck down fiercely. Unexpectedly, you opened your mouth and inhaled, actually swallowing the purple divine lightning into your belly. A muffled thud came from your belly, and you even let out a smoky burp. Ita ate it. Everyone watched, dumbfounded and with their scalps tingling. Impossible. Ning China's veins bulged as he fiercely unleashed Heaven's favor, his strength surging 100-fold. Unfortunately, it's still cold na tea stir up any waves. Seeing this, everyone completely despaired. Some began to beg for mercy, saying they would submit to you. The Sky Desolate God Emperor, however, sneered, so what if Hea's an immortal lord? We are immortal and indestructible, at worst, we'll be sealed for a period of time. This Sin blood is so arrogant, when the supreme giants of the 9 heavens descend, that will be the day of his demise, and then we will see the light of day again. You smiled mockingly, still thinking of being sealed. I think you are overestimating yourself. You unleashed a wisp of destruction rule, obliterating the Sky Desolate God Emperor, and then used Fate rule to directly locate the Sky Desolate God Emperor's grotto heaven world in the Chaos realm. You projected a force from afar, utterly destroying his grotto heaven, leaving not even dust behind. The group of Supreme Immortals, seeing that the Sky Desolate God Emperor had not revived for a long time, their expressions drastically changed. Even Ning Chen, the son of destiny, could not hold on anymore and began to beg for mercy. After all, no one truly wanted to die. Unfortunately, you had no intention of letting them go. You directly turned them, one by one, into dust within your palm world. When it was finally Ning China's turn, a sudden roar came from afar. Stop. It was the Burial Sky Old Ancestor who had arrived. The Burial Sky Old Ancestor imperiously declared, Ning Chen has already been designated as a personal disciple by Li Chen, Immortal Lord of Mozang Heaven. Once he goes to Mozang Heaven, the formal discipleship ceremony will be held. The might of an immortal king is not something you can offend. It's still not too late to stop now. Ning Chen was overjoyed upon hearing this. He knew of this Li Chen Immortal Lord, he was the founder of the Burial Sky sect, and the Burial Sky Old Ancestor could only be considered his grand disciple. The Burial Sky Old Ancestor had told him after the Wu Tian Demon Ancestor was sealed that he would go to the 9 heavens to secure an opportunity for him. He had not expected the Burial Sky Old Ancestor to actually succeed. This was truly a turning point, a light at the end of the tunnel. His Ning Chen was saved. Ning Chen secretly thought to himself, once he went to Mozang Heaven to become a disciple of Li Chen Immortal Lord and broke through to Immortal Lord, he would repay Tadea's humiliation 100-fold. Unfortunately, these were just Ning China's beautiful fantasies before his death. You completely ignored the Burial Sky Old Ancestor's words and instantly refined him. You dare to kill an immortal king's disciple? This is outrageous. Don't you know how much karma this will bring upon you? The Burial Sky Old Ancestor was both shocked and enraged. Old geezer, stop your blabbering, you die too. You pointed a finger, and the Burial Sky Old Ancestor instantly turned to ashes, following in Ning China's footsteps. You, who integrate thousands of rules, are simply a monstrous existence. Although an immortal king can suppress you, killing you is not an easy task. Right, it seems there are still some who slipped through the net. You took a step, and in the next moment, you had crossed several lands and appeared at the Purple Firmament Divine Institute in the Tao Ancient Land. The Purple Firmament Divine Institute has always claimed to be the legacy of the Tao ancestor. Aside from the one time they acted when the Chaos Heavenly Tablet was stolen, they rarely interfered with the affairs of the Ten Directions land. However, it was precisely because of the Chaos Heavenly Tablet that they incurred immense karma. Stealing the Chaos Heavenly Tablet was indeed your doing. But, if it was not so tempting, would you have snatched it? Even if you were at fault, was the Purple Firmament Divine Institute completely blameless? They were negligent in their own guardianship, could that also be blamed on you? Most importantly, for such a minor matter as the Chaos Heavenly Tablet, the boundless Supreme Immortal actually captured you, a noble holy blood, and threw you into the sin prison. He has invited his own demise. You grabbed the Purple Firmament Divine Institute in your hand. The disciples and elders within the Purple Firmament Divine Institute only felt the earth shake. The ancient Heaven Supreme Immortal flew out from his residence and roared, who dares lay hands on the Tao Ancestor's legacy land? You singled out the ancient Heaven Supreme Immortal and smiled, of course it's me. Who else could it be? Sin blood, you are actually not dead. The ancient Heaven Supreme Immortal was greatly startled, then sneered, don't think that just because your strength has greatly increased, you can run wild in the Purple Firmament Divine Institute. My Purple Firmament Divine Institute has cultivated over a dozen Supreme Immortals over countless years, and there is even one Immortal Lord. I advise you Before the ancient Heaven Supreme Immortal could finish speaking, you grabbed and exploded his head, beginning to search his soul for the whereabouts of the boundless Supreme Immortal. The ancient Heaven Supreme Immortal seemed to have seen through your intention. After all, it was the boundless Supreme Immortal who had captured you and sent you to the sin prison. His immortal soul sneered, don't waste your efforts. The boundless Supreme Immortal is not in the Ten Directions land at all. He went to Yuan Jing Heaven. You, this sin blood, can only be captured and brought into Yuan Jing Heaven. You have no right to step into it openly. Is that so? You took out the immortal slaughtering ancient spear and thrust it out. The heavenly barrier, which separates the 9 heavens and the 10 directions land, and which even you, 18,000 years later in the previous simulation leading 10,000 immortals, could not breach, was thus pierced with a large hole. At Golden Pool Mountain in Yuan Jing Heaven, a Tao discussion assembly was being held. Various immortals gathered, with over 50 supreme immortals present, all explaining their Tao and methods. The boundless Supreme Immortal was also among them. His cultivation of the second corpse cutting was enough to secure him a place in the Tao discussion assembly. Just as the boundless Supreme Immortal began his Tao discussion, a colossal hand suddenly descended from the sky, seizing the boundless Supreme Immortal. With such an unexpected turn of events at the Tao discussion assembly, everyone exchanged glances, unsure which Immortal Lord had taken the boundless Supreme Immortal. In the 10 Directions land, the ancient Heaven Supreme Immortal looked at the boundless Supreme Immortal, whom you had seized from Yuan Jing Heaven, utterly horrified. You are too outrageous, arena tu. However, you did not give the two time to reminisce. With a rub of your hand, both of them turned to ashes. The karma in the 10 Directions land was mostly cleared. Next would be the Sin Blood division of Yuan Jing Heaven. You thrust another spear, and the heavenly barrier, which had already repaired itself, was again torn open with a large hole. Heavenly barrier. Am I that unimpressive? You passed through the heavenly barrier and entered Yuan Jing Heaven. Yuan Jing Heaven was several times larger than the 10 Directions land. The immortal chi concentration and various resources were also far superior to the 10 Directions land. Most of the supreme immortals who entered the 9 heavens from the 10 Directions land resided in Yuan Jing Heaven for cultivation. Coupled with the native supreme immortals, the number of supreme immortals in Yuan Jing Heaven had long exceeded 3 digits, including many supreme immortals who had undergone 3 corpse cuttings. Its overall power was far beyond what the 10 Directions land could compare to. However, for immortal lords, this place was too barren. Immortal lords generally resided above the 2nd heaven. 392. Destroy the blood department of crime and build the Holy Blood Palace. Cleanse Yuan Jingtian, Senluo Immortal Lord returns. Your figure vanished from its original spot, appearing above the Sin Blood division the next instant. Shu Tuo, come out and face your death. As the overbearing and cold voice fell, Su Tuo came outside and saw you, his former troublesome enemy. He felt the profound and vast chi from your body, knew he was no match for you, and turned to run. However, he hadn't run far before he was caught and imprisoned in the 10,000 Demons Tower. As the head of the Sin Blood Division, killing Su Tuo directly would be too easy for him. You intended to entertain him thoroughly with the rules of torture. Afterward, you eradicated the Sin Blood Division with a single palm strike, then opened the Sin prison and released Da Sui, Nua, and others who were held within. This time, they truly saw the light of day again. When they saw you again, they were shocked that you were still alive. Then, Da Sui and Nua urged you to flee quickly, or another immortal lord would arrive soon. However, you had no intention of running anymore. You had had enough of these years of hiding. You planned to establish the Saint Blood Hall on the ruins of the Sin Blood Division. The Sin Blood Division specialized in capturing and suppressing Sin Blood. Then the Saint Blood Hall would specialize in capturing and suppressing those who slandered Holy Blood as Sin Blood. From today onwards, you would rectify the name of Holy Blood. Da Sui and Nua were both stunned by your idea. Were you going to challenge the immortal king behind the Sin Blood Division? Your mind was made up. If they wanted to leave, you wouldn't stop them. Ultimately, Da Sui and Nua decided to stay. If an immortal king truly made a move, there would be no use for them to run to the ends of the earth. However, about half of the more than 10,000 ancestor realm Sin Blood cultivators fled. They didn't want to be imprisoned in the Sin prison again, like last time. Again, if they wanted to leave, you wouldn't stop them. After they left the Saint Blood Hall, you caught them back again. Everyone angrily asked, "Didn't you say you wouldn't stop us?" You shrugged and said, "I didn't stop you. I'm merely fulfilling the duties of the Saint Blood Hall now." The Saint Blood Hall does not permit the existence of Sin Blood in the world, nor does it permit those who slander Sin Blood. If I let you Sin Blood cultivators run off, where would the Saint Blood Hall's face be? They said with mournful faces, "Is it too late to become Holy Blood now?" You smirked coldly and said, "It's too late." With a flick of your sleeve, all those who had left exploded into bloody mist, dying completely. Seeing this scene, everyone thought to themselves, you were indeed still you, 1,000 years had not changed you. Da Sui and Nua, however, were shocked that you could completely annihilate an ancestor. This was not something an ordinary Supreme Immortal could do. Thinking back to 10,000 years ago, you could contend with a Supreme Immortal as an ancestor. Now, it was not unacceptable that you might have comprehended a supreme rule to achieve this. Soon, the Saint Blood Hall was officially established. You also invited many local forces from Yuan Jing Heaven to attend the Saint Blood Hall's inaugural ceremony. It was rumored that the Sin Blood Division was established by several ancient immortal kings. Although those immortal kings had not appeared for a long time, their immortal king's residual power remained, and no one dared to offend them. Moreover, your establishment of the Saint Blood Hall on the ruins of the Sin Blood Division was an even greater disrespect to the immortal kings. It would be a miracle if they dared to come. However, some small and medium-sized forces, lacking a supreme immortal to oversee them, dared not offend the Saint Blood Hall and thus sent people to attend. On the day of the ceremony, you looked at the many empty seats and clapped your hands, laughing. "It seems there are more heretics in Yuan Jing Heaven than I imagined." Disrespecting Holy Blood is to harbor discrimination, believing that you have not shed your identity as Sin Blood. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being merciless. One Dao body after another emerged from behind you, stirring up waves of bloody carnage in Yuan Jing Heaven. Forces with Immortal Lord or Immortal King backgrounds were captured and imprisoned in the Sin prison. Those without, of course, were executed on the spot. During the sweep of Yuan Jing Heaven, your Dao body unexpectedly discovered the other 3 lotus platforms that originated from the same source as the Merit Golden Lotus and the world-destroying Black Lotus. They were the 12th-grade Creation Green Lotus, the 12th-grade Pure World White Lotus, and the 12th-grade Karma Red Lotus. These 5 great lotus platforms were all formed from the lotus seeds of the Genesis Green Lotus, held by an ancient immortal king. These 5 great lotus platforms were all supreme immortal artifacts, each with its own unique uses. Except for the 12th grade Merit Golden Lotus, the other 4 lotus platforms had extremely limited use for you. So you extracted the origin from the world-destroying Black Lotus, the 12th grade Creation Green Lotus, the 12th grade Pure World White Lotus, and the 12th grade Karma Red Lotus, and sent them into the Merit Golden Lotus. After devouring these origins, the 12th grade Merit Golden Lotus successfully advanced into an acquired creation Marvela, the 18th grade Merit Golden Lotus. As long as the karma was sufficient, its various enhancement effects would be more than 10 times stronger than before. Another heaven-defying treasure. You tried to use it to cut off your obsessive self, corpse, and found it only took half a month. which was much faster than the 3 years for the good self corpse. So, you postponed the good self corpse and began to cut off the obsessive self corpse. What puzzled you a bit was, why was it so slow for you, a benevolent person, to cut off the good self corpse? This didn't make sense. Even the most difficult, obsessive self corpse, with 100-fold time acceleration, only took half a month. Why would the easiest, good self corpse take so long? You just couldn't figure it out. At the same time, the actions of your 3 Tao bodies in Yuan Jing heaven also attracted the attention of other heavens. Many higher-level heavens had Tao lineages in Yuan Jing heaven. Daring to cleanse the forces in Yuan Jing heaven meant either being extremely arrogant or having a strong backer. When they heard that everything was done by sin blood, everyone was surprised, and then thought of the former. However, the strength displayed by your Tao body was in no way weaker than an immortal lord. While many immortal lords were pondering how to probe your limits, Senluo Immortal Lord descended from Golden Hall Heaven. 10,000 years felt like yesterday to an immortal lord. Yet your strength had increased so rapidly, which made him even more convinced that the Hongmeng Dao field left by Hongmeng Immortal King was on you. The Hongmeng Dao field was an innate creation marvel, usually only possessed by immortal kings, and was an extremely precious item for immortal lords. Upon learning of your appearance, he couldn't help but rush over immediately. Although he didn't know how strong you truly were, he was a 3rd-rank immortal lord, not a weakling among immortal lords. He was confident that even if he couldn't defeat you, he could easily retreat unscathed. Soon, Senluo Immortal Lord descended upon the Sin Blood Division again. No, it was the Saint Blood Hall. The many cultivators in the Saint Blood Hall were filled with trepidation. That was a being above a supreme immortal, whose name ordinary immortal cultivators dared not even utter. Although you, the Saint Blood Hall Master, had displayed strength that crushed supreme immortals. Yet, whether you could defeat an immortal lord, who was above a supreme immortal, everyone still felt uncertain in their hearts. 393. Suppress the immortal lord and go to the Golden Palace. Senluo Treasure House, the elders of the Jin family. Senluo Immortal Lord looked down at you from above, and seeing that you were only at the supreme immortal realm, he said, interesting, feeling even more confident. Subsequently, a scene of Senluo myriad forms emerged behind Senluo Immortal Lord. Within it, countless hell scenes formed an evil giant palm, grabbing at you from the air. Seeing Senluo Immortal Lord being so arrogant, you directly struck out with a palm, countering his from the air, and with a boom, you shattered that evil giant fist. Senluo Immortal Lord was startled and finally took out his acquired creation spirit treasury of the Senluo demonic chain. The Senluo demonic chain swept over like a black long river. You took out the immortal slaughtering ancient spear and the merit golden lotus. With the enhancement effect of the merit golden lotus, your chi surged once again, and with just one spear strike, you repelled the Senluo demonic chain and firmly pinned Senluo Immortal Lord in the void realm. Under the washing of the immortal slaughtering ancient spear's bloody evil chi, Senluo Immortal Lord let out a tragic cry. Afterward, you imprisoned him in the sin prison. Everyone was full of disbelief. An immortal lord was defeated by you so cleanly and decisively. He couldn't even escape. After this battle, your reputation as the evergreen immortal lord spread widely across several heavens, and even many powerful individuals from other domains heard your name. The patrons of those Yuan Jing heaven powerhouses you imprisoned also began to send people to negotiate with you for their release. The fame of Saint Blood Hall was completely established in Yuan Jing heaven, everyone knew it. However, the number of usable people you currently have is still too small. The number of reincarnators is not small, but they are far from having grown up. You decided to recruit people from the immortal domain. First, raise the high-end combat power of the reincarnators. And the 10 directions land and Yuan Jing heaven can both become places to earn karma. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. Half a month later, you successfully used the 18th grade merit golden lotus to cut out your obsessive self corpse. Your strength surged again. Next, as long as you cut out the good corpse, you can begin to break through to the immortal lord realm. The immortal lord realm requires drawing upon the power of the immortal domain to condense an ascension ladder in the sea of consciousness. The ascension ladder generally has 9 steps, hence immortal lords are divided into 9 ranks. With each step ascended, the rules one has created undergo a transformation. After the 9th rank, Passing through the gate of myriad wonders allows the rules one has created to completely transform into divine law, which is the immortal king realm. The stronger the rules created, the stronger the divine law will naturally be after transformation. The 10,000 laws rule you created, although a first-grade rule, ranks 690 on the rule list. This is mainly because you were previously always comprehending new rules and didn't have excess energy to improve the grade of the 10,000 laws rule. Now, you have completely comprehended all first-grade rules. Next, you will integrate them all into the 10,000 laws rule. You dare not fully guarantee that all laws will become the top-ranked existence among the myriad rules. But at least it should become one of the top 10 supreme rules, right? Next, your main body once again entered arduous cultivation. One of your Tao bodies is stationed in Reincarnation Heavenly Palace, and another Tao body is stationed in Saint Blood Hall. The last Tao body entered the second heaven, Golden Hall Heaven. Although Senluo Immortal Lord was suppressed by you, there are still many good things in the Senluo Hall he founded, and you cannot let them go. The main base of Senluo Hall is located in a highly poisonous swamp. With Senluo Immortal Lord being suppressed by you in Yuanjing Heaven, Senluo Hall has already fallen into disarray. However, it is still far from collapsing. After all, Senluo Immortal Lord was only suppressed, not killed. Currently, several elders of Senluo Hall have already gone out, hoping to persuade other Immortal Lords to take action and rescue Senluo Immortal Lord. As for whether it will be effective, the people of Senluo Hall are also unsure. Just as the people of Senluo Hall were in a state of panic, they did not know that Saint Blood, who suppressed their Hall Master, had already infiltrated their lair. Senluo Immortal Lord had managed it for so many years, and the defenses of Senluo Hall were second to none. If you were to force your way in, it would take a lot of effort. Disguising yourself as a disciple and infiltrating made it much simpler. After you entered, you went straight to the treasury. According to Senluo Immortal Lord's memory, his treasury contained an acquired creation wondrous item called the Beat God Stone. This item is indestructible, hits whatever it points at, and never misses. Even a human immortal can use it. But its power ceiling is a bit low. Even if an immortal lord uses it, it can only threaten a supreme immortal. However, it would be good for your Honmeng Dao Palace to devour. Your strength has already increased, and it's time to find enough creation wondrous items to advance the Honmeng Dao Palace. The primal chaos purple chi produced by the Honmeng Dao Palace can also advance supreme immortal items into creation wondrous items. It's just that the efficiency is definitely not as fast as robbing the rich to help the poor. Not long after, you arrived at the treasury's location. With a wave of your hand, several guards instantly fell into a state of time stagnation, unable to move. To open the treasury, 3 secret keys are needed simultaneously, and these 3 secret keys are held by the 3 strongest elders. Those 3 elders were all Senluo Immortal Lord's confidants and had already gone out to seek external aid. You never thought of relying on secret keys to open the treasury anyway. You used a unique secret technique, obtained through soul-searching Senluo Immortal Lord, to open the treasury and walked in. As the treasury of an Immortal Lord power, the items inside were naturally dazzling. However, the Beat God Stone you wanted was surprisingly not there. Senluo Immortal Lord had only left for a few days, and the most precious item in the treasury was gone. Was it someone stealing from within, or you discovered a faint aura in the treasury, left within the last 2 days? The treasury hadn't been opened in recent days, so how did the owner of this aura get in? Could it be a fellow practitioner like you? If so, they shouldn't have only taken the Beat God Stone. You collected all the treasures in the treasury and, based on the residual aura, screened everyone in Senluo Hall. Finally, you locked onto a steward who had joined Senluo Hall just over 10 years ago. Not good, I've been discovered. As your immortal sense swept over that person, he felt a chill down his spine and immediately revealed his half-step Immortal Lord strength, beginning to flee. There was indeed a problem. You revealed your figure and seized him. Who are you? The other people in Senluo Hall also discovered your presence, but they were mercilessly slaughtered by you. After a series of tragic screams and wails, there were no more living beings in Senluo Hall. You collected the treasures from everyone and, taking the person you had captured, left Senluo Hall. Afterward, you didn't waste words and directly performed a soul search on this person. You discovered that he was actually the 7th elder of the Jin family, one of the 4 great families in Golden Hall Heaven. 394. The Divine Medicine Gate, the Flying Immortal Ancient Tree. Kill the 3 corpses, and all methods will be improved. Recently, the Jin family selected a group of prodigies to gain experience in the foreign battlefield, and this person's grandson happened to be among them. In order to find a self-defense item for his grandson, he specifically came to steal the Beat God Stone. If you had arrived 2 days later, this guy would have already run off with the Beat God Stone. Although you have the Senluo Immortal Lord in hand, searching the divine soul of an Immortal Lord is too difficult, and you have only obtained information about the Senluo Hall so far. Therefore, from this person's divine soul, besides learning the purpose of stealing the Beat God Stone, you also gathered a lot of intelligence about Golden Hall Heaven. For example, the 4 major families of Golden Hall Heaven, Jin, Meng, Jehu, and Chua, all have a quasi-immortal king overseeing them, making them the 4 strongest forces in Golden Hall Heaven. Other Immortal Lord level forces, though strong, are still somewhat inferior compared to the 4 major families. Besides the information on the 4 major families, what interested you was a force called the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect. The Divine Medicinal Pill Sect is the #1 alchemy force in Golden Hall Heaven, and its relationship with the 4 major families is quite good. What you value is not the medicinal pills within its sect, but that the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect possesses a divine tree called the Flying Immortal Ancient Tree, which blossoms once every 3,000 years. The flying immortal flower it produces has the effect of increasing comprehension ability, even for an Immortal Lord. After you break through to Supreme Immortal, your comprehension ability also increased further, but it still has not reached the Immortal Lord level. Next, wanting to integrate all first-grade rules into the 10,000 Laws rule undoubtedly requires extremely high comprehension ability. This flying immortal flower is very suitable for you and can save you a lot of time. The most crucial point is that you also have a 100-fold acceleration, so for you, this flying immortal ancient tree blossoms once every 30 years. It won't be long before it pushes your comprehension ability to a terrifying level. You barely hesitated before deciding that you would definitely seize this tree. You found the Beat God Stone on the 7th elder of the Jin family, and also obtained a white mask. This is a wondrous creation of the 1000 Transformations mask, which possesses extremely strong disguise and restriction penetration abilities. He relied on this item to evade the Senluo Immortal Lord's perception and enter the treasury. However, you have 1000 transformations, destiny nullification, and a host of first-grade rules. This 1000 transformations mask has limited use for you. Its ability to penetrate restrictions is quite good. However, the principle is not difficult. Once you comprehend it, it can only add bricks and mortar to the advancement of the Hongmeng Dao Palace. You threw both the Beat God Stone and the 1000 transformations mask to the Hongmeng Dao Palace, then headed to the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect. As the #1 alchemy force in Golden Hall Heaven, the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect had an endless stream of people coming to request medicinal pills. You easily blended in without needing much disguise. However, getting in was easy. Getting close to the Flying Immortal Ancient Tree was not easy at all. The Flying Immortal Pill, refined from the Flying Immortal Flower, is incredibly rare and hard to obtain. This Flying Immortal Ancient Tree naturally became the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect's biggest cash cow, personally guarded by the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect's Immortal Lord 7th Stage Old Ancestor. You have no confidence in defeating an Immortal Lord 7th Stage existence. Not to mention that this is also the opponent's lair. Taking action would be even more difficult. You decided to lie low and wait for an opportunity. Time flew by, and 3 years passed in a flash. You successfully used the Enlightenment platform to cut out your good corpse. Your strength has greatly increased. Now, your individual Dao body should have the strength of an Immortal Lord 6th Stage. Although still not as strong as the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect's old ancestor, you can at least hold your own against him for a while. In these 3 years, besides your strength greatly increasing, the Hongmeng Dao Palace, under 100-fold acceleration, had also completely devoured the Beat God Stone and the 1000 Transformations mask. The golden figure told you that it would probably only need to devour 30 such acquired wondrous creations to advance to an innate wondrous creation. This still presents a bit of a challenge for you. Your Dao body in Golden Hall Heaven was generous with spending in these 3 years, purchasing many medicinal pills from the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect and getting to know many Divine Medicinal Pill Sect elders. According to what your Dao body investigated, 1 month later, the Divine Medicinal Pill Sect's old ancestor would personally deliver the 7 holy refining heart pill required by the quasi-immortal king of the Jehu family among the 4 major families. At that time, the Divine Medicinal Pill sect's old ancestor would leave the Divine Medicinal Pill sect for a moment, which would undoubtedly be an excellent opportunity for you to act. 1 month later, the Divine Medicinal Pill old ancestor indeed left the Divine Medicinal Pill sect. To ensure foolproof success, you even specially dispatched the Tao body stationed in the Saint Blood Hall to intercept him on his inevitable return path, making him return to the sect later. The Divine Medicinal Pill old ancestor was still very surprised as to why a mysterious force suddenly attacked him. When he received the sect's distress signal, his expression changed drastically, and he understood the intention. He unleashed a full-strength strike, forcing your Tao body back, then rushed back to the sect in a hurry. When he returned to the Divine Medicinal Pill sect, he saw the sect in ruins. Only a large pit remained where the flying immortal ancient tree once stood. Many medicinal pills within the sect were also plundered. The Divine Medicinal Pill old ancestor was so enraged he glowed red on the spot. He immediately mobilized all his connections and issued a wanted poster for the thief. Anyone with information about the thief would receive a huge reward. However, most forces in Golden Hall Heaven did not dare to easily get involved. After all, besides the 4 major families, almost no force in Golden Hall Heaven could produce 2 Immortal Lord 6th stage combat powers. And the quasi-immortal king of the Jehu family usually sent people to the Divine Medicinal Pill sect to retrieve medicinal pills, but this time, he suddenly had the Divine Medicinal Pill old ancestor deliver them personally, thus giving the mysterious force an opportunity. Everything about this seemed too coincidental. It made people afraid to think too deeply. After you obtained the flying immortal ancient tree, you directly threw it into the Chongsheng world for 100-fold acceleration. The last time the flying immortal ancient tree bloomed was 2,900 years ago. Under 100-fold time flow, it would only take 1 year to bear flying immortal flowers. Of course, such a divine object cannot rely solely on time acceleration. During this process, it also needs to be fed sufficient resources. Having successively plundered the 10 directions land and Yuan Jing heaven, you are now least lacking in resources. You can satisfy anything the flying immortal ancient tree needs. Besides cultivating the flying immortal ancient tree, your main body began to integrate first-grade rules into the 10,000 laws rule. The process naturally went from easy to difficult, first integrating lower-grade first-grade rules. Once the 10,000 laws rules grade increased, integrating mid to high-grade first-grade rules would also become much easier. On Golden Hall Heaven's Rule Immortal ranking, your 10,000 laws rules ranking began to rise rapidly again. The 10,000 laws rule has always been considered by many to be a rule created by an immortal king. Its changes naturally attracted considerable attention again. You now hold the Wondrous Creations Enlightenment platform in the 18th grade Merit Golden Lotus, and also possess the Infinite Enlightenment talent. Combined, your comprehension ability is terrifying to the extreme. The 10,000 laws rule changed almost every day. Within a few months, it rocketed from 690 to 300. This time, the changes in the 10,000 laws rule were far more rapid than the last, attracting even greater attention. After another half a year, the 10,000 laws rule reached 187, before it, almost all were innate rules. And among the rules created by immortal cultivators, there were only 2. They were the Tribulation Lightning Rule, ranked 79th, and the Heart Demon Rule, ranked 156th. Among self-created rules, your 10,000 laws rule ranks 3rd. 395. Greatly Increased Understanding, Luoho Immortal King. Supreme Rules, Goodbye Wuxun. The changes in the 10,000 laws rule completely overshadowed the theft of the flying immortal ancient tree. The further one goes in the rule, the harder it is to improve. The speed of the 10,000 laws rule's improvement had visibly slowed down. Many people were curious if the 10,000 laws rule could surpass the Calamity Lightning Rule, which was ranked 79th. As for the top 10 supreme rules, they were simply beyond human capability. As long as it could surpass the Calamity Lightning Rule, the 10,000 laws rule would be considered earth-shattering. At this time, the flying immortal flower had already matured. After refining one, you felt a significant increase in your basic comprehension ability, about a tenth. And there were over 3,000 such flying immortal flowers. You began to frantically refine the flying immortal flower. A month later, you had refined all the flying immortal flowers. Even though the effect of the flying immortal flower weakened the further you went, your basic comprehension ability still increased by more than 70 times. At this point, your basic comprehension ability was no longer weak among immortal lords. Under 100-fold time flow, the flying immortal ancient tree would bloom again in 30 years, at which point your comprehension ability would see another surge. In Golden Hall Heaven, the 10,000 Laws rule, which had been silent for several months and whose popularity had somewhat diminished, quickly rose in rank again. This time, the momentum of its rise was even fiercer than before. It only took a month to surpass the Heart Demon rule, ranked 156th. It only took half a year to surpass the Calamity Lightning rule, ranked 79th. This time, even the immortal kings of the higher level, heavens, were startled. They all sought to discover the true identity of the person who created the 10,000 Laws rule. There were only so many immortal kings in the 9 heavens, but not a single one stepped forward to claim credit for creating the 10,000 Laws rule. For an immortal king, this was a matter of great prestige, so they shouldn't be so low-key. Could it be that a certain immortal lord created this rule? If that were truly the case, it would be far too terrifying. Due to the rule immortal ranking's protection of the rule lord, the immortal kings could only screen them one by one. Your Tao body, stationed in the Saint Blood Hall, with the precedent of suppressing Senluo immortal lord, quickly entered the immortal Kingsay section A. They didn't know until they looked, and when they did, they were shocked. Many immortal kings then discovered that your Tao body was actually only at the supreme immortal realm. Immediately, an immortal king named Rahula seized your Tao body, wanting to probe your secrets. Although your Tao body could not resist, your main body in the Chongsheng world withdrew the one Qi transforming into 3 purities technique. Your Tao body naturally dissipated completely. However, this only further piqued immortal King Rahula's interest. He began to search for your whereabouts through various clues. To be safe, you summoned all reincarnators back to the reincarnation space, then used the time stasis technique to seal them and send them to a plane in the chaos realm far from the immortal realm. Although your Hongmeng Dao Palace was only an acquired creation, it was difficult to affect immortal kings. But your Chongsheng world, which had imprinted all first-grade rules, had a better effect in concealing heavenly secrets than the Hongmeng Dao Palace at this time. Immortal kings would not be able to find you easily for a while. Time flew by, and 20 years passed in a flash. Your 10,000 Laws rule had already reached 11th place, just one step away from being a supreme rule. The inhabitants of Golden Hall Heaven were already shocked and numb to your achievements. Many people were curious about your true identity. In the past 2 years, various forces had been constantly searching for your whereabouts. There were already rumors that the Sin Blood, who had ascended from the lower realm to the immortal realm and rapidly risen with lightning speed, had created the 10,000 Laws rule. If this were true, it would undoubtedly be extremely astonishing. Would the prophecy of that immortal king in the 4th heaven truly come true? Would the immortal realm truly descend into chaos? At this point, someone stepped forward and said, "The immortal realm is not only the 9 heavens and 10 earths, isn't the foreign land also part of the immortal realm? Perhaps the Sin Blood will only harm the foreign land." When the 10,000 Laws rule reached 11th place, it had already integrated most of the first-grade rules. You didn't know how many more rules needed to be integrated before it could enter the ranks of the Supreme. Anyway, just keep integrating. Now that many immortal kings were searching for your whereabouts, you only wanted to hide in the Chongsheng world and cultivate in peace. You wondered if, by elevating the 10,000 Laws rule to the top of the rule ranking, and using that foundation to break through to Immortal Lord, you could contend with an immortal king. It's better to be stronger. Being too weak always leads to anxiety and fear. You continued your arduous cultivation. A year later, you integrated all first-grade rules below the top 10 supreme rules into the 10,000 Laws rule. The 10,000 Laws rule finally surpassed the Order rule, ranked 10th, and entered the top 10. When a new supreme rule was born, unusual phenomena appeared throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. In the 3rd heaven, a gaze descended. You, in the Chongsheng world, instantly felt as if you were seen through completely. Just as you thought you were about to perish again, that gaze suddenly withdrew. Whose gaze was this? Was it the same one that killed you in the previous simulation? You felt doubtful. However, this gaze did not kill you, so it was likely not the same person. But the fact that he could discover you so easily still shocked you. After all, even immortal kings found it difficult to easily locate your Chongsheng world. The owner of that gaze was highly likely an existence above immortal kings. You were still completely clueless about the realm above immortal kings. Previously, in Golden Hall Heaven, you hadn't found any relevant information. Naturally, there couldn't be any in Senluo Immortal Lord's memories either. He was just an ordinary Immortal Lord among the many Immortal Lords of Golden Hall King. However, you did remember one person. That was the ancient god Witch Shuan. Although that guy was a supreme immortal, he was exceptionally mysterious. Perhaps he knew something. He was still sealed in the 10 Directions land, and you could definitely find him if you spent a little time. However, the process might be a bit dangerous, as it would be easy for immortal kings to discover you. You ultimately gritted your teeth and decided to take the risk. Dao body, go. This important task was entrusted to the Dao body. Meanwhile, your main body began to refine the flying immortal flower, which had matured again. It was harvest season once more. After more than half a month, you had refined all the flying immortal flowers, and your comprehension ability increased by another 30-odd times. Your comprehension ability could definitely rival high-level immortal lords, and even quasi-immortal kings. And your Dao body, during this half-month, finally found the sealed ancient god Witch Shuan in a fog-shrouded valley in the Demon Fall land. 396. Immortal Emperor, Wu Shuan's death. Luoho defected and tied for first place. Outside the Seal land, there is also a killing array that can destroy supreme immortals who have severed the 3 corpses. However, for your Dao body, it naturally poses no threat. Nonetheless, to avoid alarming the strong individual who sealed Wu Shuan, you did not destroy the killing array, instead, you infiltrated it without anyone knowing. You woke up the sleeping ancient god Witch Wu Shuan and told him you came to save him. Wu Shuan was greatly surprised to see you, and tears welled up in his eyes. He had thought he would never see the light of day again, but you descended like a divine soldier once more. He said that from now on, you would be his best brother. You asked him if he knew what realm was above Immortal King. Wu Shuan said, "Of course I know. Above Immortal King is Immortal Emperor, and above Immortal Emperor is still Immortal Venerable." You asked in surprise, "And above Immortal Venerable?" Wu Shuan said, "There's nothing else. Immortal Venerable is the highest realm in the immortal domain." You confirmed again, "Really nothing else?" Wu Shuan became anxious. "If there's a realm above Immortal Venerable, I'll die without a burial place right now, alright." Seeing Wu Shuan make such a solemn vow, you finally confirmed that Immortal Venerable was indeed the highest realm in the immortal domain. This meant that if you break through 4 more major realms, you would truly be invincible. You would no longer have to live in constant fear. It was just that you didn't know what realm the 8 black shadows you saw in that mysterious space earlier were. However, judging by their tone, they were at least at the Immortal Emperor level. You still had the transcendent mark within your body. You wondered if it was Immortal Emperor or Immortal Venerable who could transcend. Subsequently, you asked Wu Shuan what he meant by hurting all living beings when he mentioned it before. Wu Shuan said that he would tell you the whole truth once you released him. You said, "We're good brothers now, don't you trust my character?" Wu Shuan replied without hesitation, "I don't trust it." Since he didn't trust you, it meant he didn't consider you a brother. In that case, you wouldn't be polite. Your palm extended into the seal array, and you directly performed a soul search on Wu Shuan. However, you quickly discovered that his divine soul was protected by a powerful force, at least at the Immortal King level. No wonder Wu Shuan knew so much, it seemed his origin was extraordinary. Wu Shuan said smugly that he had a restriction planted by his father god within him, and in this very specific place, no one could harm him. As you were contemplating a countermeasure, an extremely powerful aura suddenly descended upon the place. It was Immortal King Luoho. Immortal King Luoho seized your Dao body along with Wu Shuan. Your main body detected the situation here and directly withdrew the Dao body, leaving only Wu Shuan in place. It's like this again. Immortal King Luoho frowned upon seeing your Dao body dissipate. Then, he turned his gaze to Wu Shuan. Anyone your Dao body would risk coming out to find must be extraordinary and might know your whereabouts. Luoho began to soul search Wu Shuan, and during the process, he encountered resistance. It took him a great deal of effort to break the restriction in Wu Shuan's mind. Subsequently, a look of shock appeared in Immortal King Luoho's eyes, as if he had seen something incredibly unbelievable. This. At this moment, due to the breaking of Wu Shuan's seal, an immortal lord from the 9 heavens descended. When he saw Immortal King Luoho, he turned and fled. But he was caught by Immortal King Luoho and directly crushed to death. How could this be? Immortal King Luoho muttered to himself, seemingly still not recovered from the shock, and then left the place in a daze. 10 years later, you successively integrated the rules of order and the rules of immortality into the 10,000 laws rule, bringing the 10,000 laws rule to 9th place. 8 more years passed, and the 10,000 laws rule integrated the rules of calamity, rising to 8th place. Seeing the ranking of the 10,000 laws rule continue to climb, countless forces in the 9 heavens were sleepless with anxiety. At this rate, could it be aiming for the king of rules? However, after this, the speed of your 10,000 laws rules improvement suddenly slowed down significantly. It wasn't because the difficulty had sharply increased, but because your previously accumulated karma had run out. Now, the outside world was frantically searching for you. If you were to activate the reincarnation heavenly palace again, there was no guarantee that an immortal king wouldn't track you down to the Chongsheng world. Slower is slower, you still have the flying immortal ancient tree, which is perfect for refining flying immortal flowers a few more times. 12 years later, the flying immortal ancient tree bloomed again. After you refined all the flying immortal flowers, your comprehension ability increased by more than 10 times again. At the same time, a major event occurred in the 9 heavens. That was Immortal King Luoho, who suddenly defected on the alien battlefield in the 3rd heaven and betrayed to the alien domain. An immortal king in the 9 heavens and 10 earths was absolutely a top-tier combat force. And having cultivated all the way, their Tao heart was incredibly firm, with very few instances of defection. Immortal King Luohu's actions undoubtedly caused a huge shock. The Tao lineage he left behind in the 9 heavens was quickly purged. Some suggested branding his associates with sin blood, while others argued that such a move would lead to too many future troubles, like another heaven-defying figure emerging from the Hongmeng lineage, which would cause headaches again. Ultimately, an immortal king took action and annihilated them all. You regularly dispatched your Tao body to the 9 heavens and 10 earths to gather the latest news. You were greatly surprised upon learning this news. Such a drastic change occurred 30 years after immortal Lord Luoho captured Wu Xuan. You absolutely refused to believe there was no connection between the two. What information did he obtain from Wu Xuan? Could it be related to the truth Wu Xuan spoke of? Regarding the truth, you only knew it was related to hurting all living beings. Was there an even darker truth than this? So much so that an immortal king's Tao heart collapsed upon learning it, causing him to defect to the alien domain. You were completely baffled. The only thing you could do now was to continue cultivating diligently. 30 years later, the flying immortal ancient tree bloomed again. After you refined them, your comprehension ability increased by another 7 or 8 times. Currently, your basic comprehension ability is definitely among the top existences within immortal lords. Time flew by, 700 or 800 years passing in a flash. During this period, you integrated the supreme rules of reincarnation, destruction, origin, space, time, and destiny into the 10,000 laws rule. Now, the 10,000 laws rule is tied for first place with the chaos rule on the immortal rule ranking. This was a miracle that had never occurred in history. Besides the progress in rules, you also made huge progress in comprehension ability. The flying immortal flowers had been consumed by you to the point of losing their efficacy. Now, your basic comprehension ability is comparable to that of an immortal king. Under 100-fold time acceleration, the primal chaos purple chi produced by the Hongmeng Dao Palace also advanced a large number of acquired creation divine items. All of these were swallowed by the Hongmeng Dao Palace. After swallowing a few more items, the Hongmeng Dao Palace should be able to advance to an innate creation divine item. Next, you plan to make a concerted effort to integrate the chaos rule into the 10,000 laws rule, making it the true king of rules. 397. The King of Rules, the cultivation-based sword. Shocking Immortal Emperor, returning to Tianwang. Another 100 years, and you successfully integrated chaos rule into 10,000 laws rule. Now your 10,000 laws rule encompasses everything and evolves into myriad forms, truly becoming the first supreme rule. The 9 heavens and 10 earths completely erupted. Residing in the 4th heaven, the immortal king who once prophesied that you would bring chaos to the immortal domain began to use forbidden methods to search for your whereabouts. 2 years later, he successfully found your Chongsheng world and sneered, as expected, you are a sin blood remnant. He slowly ground you down for half a year until you died. You are dead. It's this guy again. Lu Chengsheng frowned. Before, it was just a prophecy, but this time he finally couldn't sit still and decided to act personally, huh? And from his words, he seems to bear great malice towards the Grand Mist lineage. Could he be one of the immortal kings who once harbored enmity with Hongmeng Immortal King? Regardless, he was now on Lu Changsheng's kill list. Next, Lu Changsheng prepared to receive the cultivation from the simulator. He wondered if the commotion from the 10,000 laws rule would once again attract the prying gaze of that mysterious presence. Also, Lu Changsheng wondered if he would enter that mysterious space again after comprehending all first-grade rules in the simulator. After a moment of contemplation, Lu Changsheng directly chose one. Boom! As Lu Changsheng made his choice, the aura around him began to surge dramatically. Grand Luo Extreme Realma Spirit Ancestora Saint Ancestora Primogenitora Supreme Immortala. It only stopped when he reached the peak of the Supreme Immortal Realm. At the same time, Lu Changsheng's Eternal Life Cave Heaven also underwent a tremendous transformation. Its area rapidly expanded by millions of times, and various immortal Tao rules intertwined within the cave heaven, reflecting each other's brilliance. Chaos, destiny, time, space, origin, destruction, reincarnation, calamity of the 10 supreme rules among the first-grade rules, one by one, emerged. Finally, the myriad rules converged into one rule. 10,000 Laws Rule. The moment 10,000 Laws Rule appeared, the rule's stone in golden hall heaven flickered intensely. A few breaths later, a new rule, surpassing chaos and transcending all other rules, appeared. Its name, All Laws. The crowd observing the rule's stone was dumbfounded. How could a rule appear without warning and instantly ascend to the top? Even if one creates a rule, there should be a process, right? At the same time, several terrifying existences above immortal kings in the 9 heavens sensed the changes in the sea of rules and opened their eyes, searching for the source of the change. One after another, gazes that could make immortal kings tremble cast towards Chongsheng world. At this very moment, a 9-colored transcendent mark suddenly appeared. Lu Changsheng's divine soul entered a mysterious space, and even Lu Changsheng's Chongsheng world became an unobservable existence. Several terrifying existences searched everywhere but found nothing, feeling greatly puzzled. Once again, he arrived at the mysterious space. Lu Changsheng had anticipated this, so he was not as surprised as he was in the simulation. Lu Changsheng's comprehension ability was now far beyond what it was when he entered the mysterious space in the simulation. However, when Lu Changsheng used infinite enlightenment again, he still couldn't clearly see the 8 shadowy figures. One of the shadowy figures saw Lu Changsheng's reaction and smiled. This little fellow is quite interesting. Lu Changsheng bowed to the shadowy figures and respectfully asked, "May I ask, Senior, what is the purpose of this transcendent mark?" Lu Changsheng actually knew the name of the 9-colored mark, which surprised the 8 shadowy figures a little. One of the shadowy figures said, "You will know its purpose once you break through to Immortal Emperor. However, you only have 1,000 years. If you don't break through to Immortal Emperor within 1,000 years, the transcendent mark will leave you. Of course, you have created the King of Rules, and your talent and comprehension ability are the best in your epoch. Even without this item, you may still be able to transcend." Immortal Emperor. Lu Changsheng was a little puzzled. Didn't that fellow Wu Xuan say that the highest realm was only Immortal Venerable? It seems that guy was indeed lying, no wonder he died without a burial place. It's just, is this Immortal Emperor a realm after Immortal Venerable? Or are there several realms in between? Also, what does the epic mentioned by the shadowy figure mean? Does becoming an Immortal Emperor mean transcendence? Or is transcendence above Immortal Emperor? When Lu Changsheng was about to ask again, he found that he had already returned to Chongsheng world. After Lu Changsheng left, a shadowy figure in the mysterious space wondered, "Why do I always feel like I've seen this kid before?" The other 7 shadowy figures also expressed a similar sense of copyright Yavu. They were the most supreme existences in the chaos realm. Indestructible, unblemished, neither the changing of epochs nor the shifting of timelines could affect them. Since they all had this feeling simultaneously, then there was only one truth. This person must be an old acquaintance they knew before. But thinking about it, it makes sense. How difficult is it to obtain a transcendent mark? It's completely normal for this person to be the reincarnation of an old fellow who was only one step away from their realm. Upon returning to Chongsheng world, the unobservable state of Chongsheng world instantly disappeared. Several terrifying existences, surpassing immortal kings, finally saw Lu Changsheng. However, most of them believed that Lu Changsheng had an astonishing background and dared not touch his karma, so they had no intention of making a move for a while. And the first thing Lu Changsheng did upon returning to Chongsheng World was to open the simulator and check the resources needed for the next simulation. Detected a significant change in host strength. Simulation currency has been changed from Immortal Stone to Rules Stone. One simulation requires 5 million currency. Insufficient balance, please top up in time. 5 million Rules Stone, huh? A sharp glint flashed in Lu Changsheng's eyes. Rules Stone was a rare commodity in the 10 Directions land. Even a top-tier force only had a few 100,000 Rules Stone. To get so many Rules Stone, he would have to rob the entire 10 Directions land. However, for Lu Changsheng, this kind of thing was already old hat. Origin go to no, Dao body activate. Lu Changsheng's Dao body, who had already entered the 10 Directions land and annihilated the Sinterant Envoy's branch, was currently leading a few hundred Sin Blue to Holy Blood, plundering the rich to help the poor in Yuanding Immortal Dynasty. As the main body's simulation ended and all cultivation was received, the Dao body shivered, and then felt that everything in Yuanding Immortal Dynasty was bland. The Dao body murmured, after all, my horizons have broadened. The next moment, he waved his hand, and the imperial capital of Yuanding Immortal Dynasty turned into dust in the world, vanishing completely. Boss, there are so many treasures inside, don't you want them? A Holy Blood, astonished, said regretfully. No ambition. Lu Changsheng's Dao body rolled his eyes at him, telling them to stay put, as he was going to pull off some big jobs. With his current strength, he could instantly reach any place in the 10 Directions land. The first place the Dao body went was Tianwang Divine Dynasty. Tianwang Divine Dynasty was also an old friend with quite a connection to Lu Changsheng. 398. 10 Directions have undergone dramatic changes, and he has become a half-step immortal monarch. The test of heaven, one breath becomes 10 pure. Lu Changsheng came here in the simulation, originally only wanting to cultivate in peace, but unexpectedly, he was forced to get involved in the 9 sons' struggle for succession. Lu Changsheng initially cooperated with Imperial Princess Shi Lianmeng. He originally wanted to help her ascend to power. Unexpectedly, she thought Lu Changsheng knew too much and wanted to kill him to silence him. Later, Sky Desolate God Emperor went to Yuanjing Heaven to heal his injuries. Lu Changsheng repaid evil with good, helping Cloud Phoenix ascend to power and stabilizing his empire. However, to his surprise, after Sky Desolate God Emperor returned, he started shouting for Lu Changsheng's death. After being repaid with ingratitude by the Tianwang Divine Dynasty people again and again, Lu Changsheng finally understood. The root cause of the Tianwang Divine Dynasty's illness was not external, but within the court, right in this divine capital. It was with Sky Desolate God Emperor and the various princes and princesses. Their struggle for fame and fortune, and their manipulation of power, led to Lu Changsheng's painstaking efforts and good intentions being ignored and trampled upon repeatedly. Since that was the case, then let there be destruction. In the divine capital, within the Desolate God Hall, Sky Desolate God Emperor sat on the supreme dragon throne, like a deity looking down upon the civil and military officials below. Below, dozens of princes and princesses were arrayed on both sides, discussing state affairs with the ministers. Among the princesses, Imperial Princess Shi Lianmeng was the leader. Among the princes, it was not first Prince Shizan who led, but second Prince Shiyang. Although first Prince Shizan was the legitimate son of Empress Lu Ruyan, his cultivation was neglected, and he was not even an old ancestor. Unless Shiyang made a major mistake, this chief position would not fall to Shizan. Just as everyone thought this was merely a routine court assembly. Suddenly, a dazzling light tore the void realm, heading directly above the divine capital. The aura it emitted caused everyone's expressions to change drastically. Sky Desolate God Emperor stood up from the dragon throne, his face solemn, and asked, "May I ask which immortal lord has graced the divine capital with his presence?" However, no one replied from within the light, it merely flashed fiercely, and the bodies of everyone in the Desolate God Hall, like petrified rocks, scattered with the wind. Subsequently, a large number of treasures in the divine capital vanished into thin air. Under the God Emperor's very feet, there were thieves so audacious. When people angrily reported to the authorities, they were horrified to discover that all the court officials had mysteriously disappeared. Soon after, the Wanlong secret realm, under the jurisdiction of the Dragon God Alliance, was trespassed by a mysterious person. Cloud Dragon Supreme Immortal tried to stop him but was killed by a single palm strike from the mysterious person. After wreaking havoc in the Wanlong secret realm, The mysterious person ransacked the Dragon God Alliance headquarters. Golden Giant Clan. The ancient divine treasures were looted, and Golden Ancestor died. The Western sect was scraped 3 feet deep. Amitabha and many Buddhist masters chanted scriptures nearby, not daring to speak much. Purple Firmament Divine Institute was grabbed by a huge hand descending from the sky. Yuha Divine Dynasty, Shenya, Huiyandong, Rain Clan, Boulder Clan, Burial Sky Sect. Within a single day, the 10 Directions land experienced earth-shattering changes, shaking the world. Many top forces were either robbed or annihilated. However, even those who survived were tight-lipped about the perpetrator, only subtly revealing that this person was an existence above a supreme immortal. It was hard not to draw connections when a Rule King had just been born in the 9 heavens, and such events occurred in the 10 Directions land. An immortal king skilled in deduction techniques made calculations regarding the perpetrator in the 10 Directions land, and only obtained 5 characters of information: Sin Blood, Lu Changsheng. The fact that there was an immortal lord-level existence among the Sin Blood undoubtedly surprised many. It was just unknown whether this person was related to the newly appeared Rule King. However, the possibility was extremely small. A Rule King was something even an immortal king could only look up to, clearly not something an immortal lord could comprehend. However, the Rule Lord was protected by the Rule Immortal ranking, so it was not easy to find the creator of the 10,000 Laws rule through the Rule Immortal ranking. But finding this Sin Blood shouldn't be too difficult, right? An immortal king made a move and found that apart from these 5 characters, all other information was chaotic, and his hiding place could not be found at all. Some also found the Sin Blood plane by tracing back through the Sin Blood division branch. Besides learning that Lu Changsheng's rise was exceptionally astonishing and that he was suspected to be a reincarnation of a mighty being, it was difficult to obtain other information. Regardless of how the outside world changed, Lu Changsheng at this time had already collected enough Rule Stone to start a new round of simulation. And #X20, consuming 5 million money, simulation begins. And #X20, at 18, you created the Rule Kinga 10,000 Laws rule, shaking the 9 heavens. And #X20, immortal kings found it difficult to find your traces, and existences above immortal kings, fearing to incur karma due to your background, temporarily did not make a move against you. And #X20, you continued to cultivate in the Chongsheng world with a 100-fold acceleration environment. And #X20, you only have 2 years. After 2 years, that immortal king in the 4th heaven who predicted you would disrupt the immortal domain heavenly Tao is very likely to find you. And #X20, you don't want to die tragically like in the last simulation. And #X20, at this time, your strength is already not weaker than Immortal Lord Stage 9. And #X20, next, only by breakthrough Immortal Lord will there be hope of resolving the dilemma. And #X20, at 19, under a 100-fold acceleration, 100 years had passed. You finally condensed an ascension ladder in your sea of consciousness. And #X20, you break through half-step Immortal Lord. And #X20, next, as long as you step onto the first stone step, you will officially break through Immortal Lord. And #X20, the 9 stone steps of the Ascension Ladder are respectively the stage of power, the stage of fearlessness, the stage of wisdom, the creation stage, the stage of harmonizing Tao, the stage of Star God, the stage of shattered thoughts, the rebirth stage, and the stage of Hengsha. And #X20, for each stage, the immortal domain heavenly Tao will send down a corresponding trial. The entire process is similar to undergoing tribulation. If you pass, the rules created by the immortal cultivator will undergo a transformation, and your strength will greatly increase. And #X20, if you fail to pass, your realm will stagnate. And #X20, the difficulty of each stage's trial sent down by the immortal domain heavenly Tao varies from person to person. And #X20, generally speaking, the higher the grade of the self-created rules, the greater the difficulty. And #X20, the 10,000 Laws rule you created is a rule king that surpasses the chaos rules, so the difficulty will certainly far exceed normal imagination. And #X20, having breakthrough half-step Immortal Lord, your strength is already not weaker than a quasi-immortal king. No matter how high the difficulty, you have the confidence to pass. And #X20, after all, your strength, among those of the same stage, is absolutely the first in history. And #X20, even if the immortal domain heavenly Tao gives a difficult trial, how difficult can it be? And #X20, besides, you don't have much time to prepare now. And #X20, If you can't break through within a year, you can only wait for death. And #X20, so, not long after breakthrough half-step Immortal Lord, you communicated with the Immortal Domain Heavenly Tao, preparing to undergo the tribulation of power. And #X20, soon, the Immortal Domain Heavenly Tao issued the trial mission. Without the aid of immortal artifacts or other external objects, lift the 10 directions land with your own strength. And #X20, you, what the heck? And #X20, can this thing actually be lifted by human power? And #X20, even if it can, it's definitely not something a quasi-immortal king can do. And #X20, this Immortal Domain Heavenly Tao is truly a newbie. And #X20, however, despite complaining, you still let your Tao body try it. And #X20, your Tao body, whose strength is almost equal to yours, could barely lift one of the 10 directions land even when fully unleashed. And #X20, in other words, even if your main body and Tao body came out together, you could only lift 4 of the 10 directions land, leaving 6 of them for you to stare at helplessly. And #X20, and in this process, it would also alarm an immortal king. And #X20, if your main body went out, that would be throwing yourself into a trap. And #X20, how exactly can one step onto the stage of power and break through Immortal Lord? And #X20, after much thought, you finally turned your gaze to one chi transforming into 3 purities. And #X20, since one Tao body can lift one of the 10 directions land. And #X20, then if you one chi transforming into 10 purities, making 10 Tao bodies, wouldn't you be able to lift all 10 of the 10 directions land? And #X20, and this is an inherent talent, so it shouldn't count as cheating, right? And #X20, thinking of this, a smug expression appeared on your face. And #X20, you are truly a genius. 399. Break through the immortal monarch, and fight against the immortal king. The calamity of fearlessness, the advancement of Hongmeng. Then, you began to use infinite enlightenment to analyze the principles of one chi transforming into 3 purities. You discovered that the power source of the one chi transforming into 3 purities technique entirely lay with the Hongmeng Tao Palace. The golden figure in the Hongmeng Tao Palace said, with the current grade of the Hongmeng Tao Palace, bearing 3 Tao bodies is its limit. Unless the Hongmeng Tao Palace advances again, it will be difficult to bear more Tao bodies. You knew what the Hongmeng Tao Palace said should be true. After all, your current strength was already comparable to a quasi-immortal king. The Hongmeng Tao Palace was still just an acquired creation marvel, and being able to bear the consumption of 3 Tao bodies was actually quite formidable. However, you could apply the principles of one chi transforming into 3 purities to other creation marvels or creation spirit treasures. But, in that case, it would be relying on external objects. The Hongmeng Tao Palace, being one with you, did not have such concerns. Is there no other way? Your thoughts turned, and you suddenly came up with a brilliant idea. What if you went to the top of the 10 directions land and stood upside down? That would count as holding it up, right? Your Tao body went to try it out and found that the Immortal Domain Heavenly Tao had no reaction at all. It seemed this Heavenly Tao was still too low in intelligence and couldn't recognize your novel method. Soon, you thought of another method. That was to create thought power incarnations. As the 10,000 Laws rule ascended to the top of the Rule Immortal ranking, your reputation had already spread throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths and the alien realm. Now, a massive amount of sentient thought power was generated every day. You refined these thought powers into external incarnations, not necessarily requiring them to have the strength of your main body, but as long as there were enough of them, you could still complete the test mission and hold up the 10 directions land. Without further ado, you immediately used the principles of one chi transforming into 3 purities to create an external incarnation technique, and then, under a 100-fold acceleration, you frantically refined incarnations. After half a year of this, you refined hundreds of incarnations. The strongest of these incarnations had only half your strength, and the weakest only 1/10 of yours. But, all of them possessed Immortal Lord level combat power. Seeing that the time was ripe, you directly sent 3 Tao bodies, along with hundreds of incarnations, to the 10 directions land to begin completing the advancement mission. Although the 3 corpses you severed also had a small portion of your main body's strength, you did not send them. Because if the 3 corpses were to fall, your main body would suffer Tao injuries. Unless absolutely necessary, very few powerful individuals in the immortal domain would send out their severed good corpse, evil corpse, and self corpse to fight. Hundreds of immortal lords exerted their power together in the 10 Directions land, their aura shaking heaven and earth, and successfully held up the 10 Directions land. But this act also alarmed many immortal kings, especially the immortal king from the 4th heaven who had used a forbidden technique to search for you. Although you timely withdrew the 3 Tao bodies and self-destructed many incarnations, more than a dozen incarnations still fell into that immortal king's hands. Through the karma between you and the incarnations, he found the location of the Chongsheng world in advance. When he arrived at the chaos realm where the Chongsheng world was located, he saw a heaven-shaking aura erupt, as if an immortal king had been born. This was the aura unleashed when you completed the heavenly Tao's advancement requirement, stepped onto the power realm, and broke through to the immortal lord realm. After the breakthrough, your strength greatly increased, no weaker than an ordinary immortal king. The Hongmeng Tao Palace could not bear immortal king-level power, but even without relying on the one Qi transforming into 3 purities technique, the immortal king who descended from the 4th heaven was still helpless against you. Indeed, it's sin blood that will bring chaos to the immortal domain, it has grown so quickly. That immortal king cursed and finally had to retreat. You were afraid he would find helpers, so you quickly moved the Chongsheng world to another place. Afterward, you roamed the chaos realm with the Chongsheng world. At the same time, you also sent your Tao body to the Golden Hall Heaven to seize more than a dozen creation marvels. The Golden Hall Heaven was full of quasi-immortal kings and immortal lords, who were simply unable to resist your immortal king's might. Although bullying the weak was despicable. But you were also an immortal lord, with the same realm, so it didn't count as bullying the weak. Now, you just had to wait for the Hongmeng Tao Palace to advance to an innate creation marvel. At the same time, you also received the Immortal Domain Heavenly Tao's requirement for advancing to the 2nd stage of Immortal Lord A, the Fearless Realm. That was to travel through a dark place that suppressed all 5 senses for 100 million years and remain conscious throughout. Consciously traveling in darkness for 100 million years. The ancestor was already unaffected by the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations, and an immortal lord, far surpassing the ancestor, as long as they didn't seek death, 100 million years didn't seem too long. But you were only 19 years old. An age when one was still afraid of the dark. To make you remain conscious for 100 million years in darkness, with your 5 senses suppressed, this was probably not a test of courage but an incredibly cruel torture. This was only the 2nd stage of Immortal Lord, can't the Immortal Domain Heavenly Tao do something humane for once? You were truly speechless. You could grit your teeth and get through 100 or 1,000 years. But 100 million years, you definitely couldn't last that long. When you previously used True Spirit Undying, you also had the experience of being in darkness. But at that time, your consciousness was hazy, and you didn't feel it was too difficult to endure. It seemed that to overcome this fearless tribulation, you would have to put in a lot of effort. Of course, the fastest way would definitely be to learn from the experiences of other immortal lords who had overcome the fearless tribulation. Although Heavenly Tao tests varied from person to person, you could always find something similar to yours. However, before that, you still had to wait for the Hongmeng Tao Palace to advance. After the Hongmeng Tao Palace advanced, your Tao body would be able to possess Immortal King strength, which would undoubtedly make things much more convenient. At 20 years old, under a 100-fold time flow, the Hongmeng Tao Palace devoured 5 creation marvels and finally advanced to an innate creation marvel. Its greatest change upon advancement, besides raising your talent limit, was greatly shortening the time it took to produce primal chaos purple chi. Previously, it took 100 years to produce 1 wisp, now it only took 10 years. Under time acceleration, in the future, you would most likely have an inexhaustible supply of creation spirit treasures and creation marvels in your hands. In addition, the golden figure also acquired all information about the Hongmeng Tao field and the Hongmeng Immortal King. Immortal King's strength, from low to high, was divided into Ordinary Immortal King, Supreme Immortal King, and Emperor Light Immortal King. The Hongmeng Immortal King was a Supreme Immortal King back then. So, the question was, since he was a Supreme Immortal King, how did he fall? The Azure Dragon Exalted Immortal in the Sin Prison once said that the Hongmeng Immortal King fell because he had a falling out with several Immortal Kings, leading to his demise. The Golden Figure, however, said, that's not true. It was an Emperor Light Immortal King named Jehu from the 6th heaven who saw the potential of the Hongmeng Divine Law and designed to kill the Hongmeng Immortal King, its master, in order to gain control of it. In this process, a total of 4 Immortal Kings made a move, and the Immortal King from the fourth heaven who prophesied you were sin blood and once attacked you was one of them. His name is Nine Palaces Immortal King, and he made his name through the art of deduction. 400. The truth of the past, the seven realms of the soul. The Immortal King helps, the Jushao Immortal Court. The remaining two Immortal Kings were both Supreme Immortal Kings with deep ties to the Hongmeng Immortal King. One was named Chong Yu, who attained the Tao from a moon laurel tree, and was once the Hongmeng Immortal King's closest female confidant. The other was named Zidian, who attained the Tao from the essence of thunder, and was once the Hongmeng Immortal King's most trusted brother. Back then, it was the Nine Palaces Immortal King who advised the Jehu Immortal King. He orchestrated the Zidian Immortal King and Chong Yu Celestial King to turn against the Hongmeng Immortal King one after another, and slandered him for colluding with the Sin Prison, which gave the Jehu Immortal King a righteous pretext to act. Finally, the four of them joined forces to slay the Hongmeng Immortal King, and all the myriad life races and people of the Hongmeng Tao legacy he created were branded as Sin Blood. They also established the Sin Blood Division and imprisoned them in the Sin Prison. This is the origin of the Sin Blood and the complete truth behind the Hongmeng Immortal King's demise. After hearing this, you were a bit speechless. The Hongmeng Immortal King was truly miserable, betrayed by both his female confidant and his brother. Whose fault could it be? Only his poor judgment of people. Such a thing has never happened to you. Female confidants, your heart is like iron, you never bother with such things. There's a saying, the prettier the woman, the more she lies. An honest person like you wouldn't dare to play with them. Brothers, you do have quite a few of those. However, your brothers are all willing to go through fire and water for you, willing to die for you, and have never betrayed you. Even if someone had such a thought, they would have been taken care of by you long ago. As for the Hongmeng Immortal King's revenge, what does that have to do with you? Everything you have today is due to your own efforts. The things left behind by the Hongmeng Immortal King only provided a negligible amount of help. As long as those Immortal Kings don't provoke you, you're too lazy to bother with them. However, you must kill the Nine Palaces Immortal King. Because he has not only provoked you but also tried to kill you, he has courted his own demise. After the Hongmeng Tao Palace advanced, you first sent your Tao body to Red Cloud Land to find the legacy left by the Yuanxiang Supreme Immortal and retrieve the Enlightenment Platform. Your Tao body also took a detour to the Yuha Divine Dynasty to take a look at the Son of Destiny, Ning Chen. At this time, Ning Chen had just become a live-in son-in-law of the Su clan, ordinary and without any peculiarities. Your Tao body casually obliterated him, and the dimensional will of the 10 Directions land showed no reaction. Perhaps it was out of fear of you, or for other reasons. You believe the former is more likely. Your previous 3 Tao bodies and numerous incarnations lifting the 10 Directions land probably scared the dimensional will quite a bit. Ning Chen's matter was just a small interlude. Afterward, your Tao body went to Yuan Jing Heaven and found the 12th grade Creation Green Lotus, the 12th grade Pure World White Lotus, and the 12th grade Karma Red Lotus. You extracted the origin of the 3 great lotus platforms and the world-ending Black Lotus, injecting them into the Merit Golden Lotus, allowing it to begin advancing into an acquired creation oddity. And the Enlightenment Platform, on the other hand, could advance by devouring Primal Chaos Purple Chi. At 21, the Merit Golden Lotus and the Enlightenment Platform successively advanced into creation oddities, and your comprehension ability greatly increased once more. To steadily earn karma, you rebuilt the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace. With a wave of your hand, you recruited hundreds of millions of good brothers. Now that you possess Immortal King battle strength, let's see who still dares to stop your brothers from doing good deeds. After everything was on track, you began to gather information about overcoming the fearless tribulation. As for the 9 Palaces Immortal King, there had been no movement. You didn't know if he was brewing a big move or had chickened out. At 22, you searched through hundreds of experiences of immortal lords overcoming the fearless tribulation in Golden Hall Heaven and finally found a case with a similar trial mission to yours. 8 million years ago, Ancient Dragon Immortal Lord of the Jehu clan in Golden Hall Heaven also encountered the Dark Confinement trial. However, he only needed to endure for about 1,000 years, which was incomparable to your 100 million years. Your Tao body went directly to the Jehu clan, kidnapped Ancient Dragon Immortal Lord, and asked him how he overcame this trial. Ancient Dragon Immortal Lord stated frankly that to endure darkness and the absolute deprivation of the 5 senses, one must raise their spiritual realm. In the immortal realm, the Buddhist and Taoist schools are most skilled in spiritual cultivation. The Jishin Immortal King, who dual cultivated both Buddhism and Taoism, once divided the spiritual realm into 7 levels: heart ape, constant samadhi, severing karma, true contemplation, sitting and forgetting, no self, and manifestation of holiness. Back then, ancient dragon Immortal Lord cultivated his spiritual realm to the 4th level of the realm of true contemplation, where even in a conscious state, he could achieve a state of no thoughts, thereby overcoming the fearless tribulation in one fell swoop. You then asked him, what if one had to endure 100 million years of dark confinement? Ancient dragon Immortal Lord fell silent. Although the true contemplation realm could achieve a state of no thoughts, this state could only last for a few thousand years at best. To maintain it for 100 million years, ancient dragon Immortal Lord said that one would at least need to reach the 6th level, no self, or the 7th level, manifestation of holiness. Although the difficulty was extremely high, you breathed a sigh of relief after hearing it. You weren't afraid of difficulty, only of there being no solution. Spiritual cultivation is another system of cultivation. If cultivated to a high realm, it would greatly benefit immortal Tao cultivation as well. The Western sect in the 10 Directions land also has some spiritual cultivation methods, although they only reach the 3rd level, severing karma. At most, they can serve as introductory cultivation. Ancient dragon Immortal Lord also possessed a copy of the Great Tripitaka, obtained from Little Western Heaven in Mozang Heaven, which could be cultivated to the 4th level of true contemplation. Next, your main body began to diligently cultivate spiritual methods to raise your spiritual realm. Although you had never formally engaged in spiritual cultivation, after so many simulations, your foundation was profound. In just 7 days, you completed the heart ape cultivation, achieving a state of no distracting thoughts. In 1 month, you completed constant samadhi cultivation, and your heart demon was extinguished. In half a year, you completed severing karma cultivation, and a good deal of karma on your body dissipated. After that, the speed suddenly decreased. You knew this was because your foundation was exhausted, so you sent your Tao body to the 9 heavens to sit and discuss the Tao with those who had higher spiritual cultivation realms. At 23, as your Tao body was playing chess with the Guanqi Immortal Lord, who was in the sitting and forgetting realm, under an ancient pine tree on Canyon Mountain in Golden Hall Heaven, the 9 Palaces Immortal King suddenly arrived with 2 other unfamiliar Immortal Kings. Those 2 unfamiliar Immortal Kings, like the 9 Palaces Immortal King, were ordinary Immortal Kings. You could contend with one, but if 3 of them joined forces, you would find it difficult to cope. Just at this critical moment, a Supreme Immortal King suddenly appeared, helping you out and driving away the 9 Palaces trio. You thanked this Supreme Immortal King and were curious why he helped you. Guanqi Immortal Lord introduced with a smile from the side. This is King Hawa Immortal King of the Eastern Extremity, one of the 4 sovereigns of the 9 Heavens Immortal Court. You were startled. The 9 Heavens Immortal Court was the strongest force in the Triple King Mozang Heaven, bar none. The reason you had been reluctant to go to Mozang Heaven was precisely because you feared the 9 Heavens Immortal Court. You hadn't expected the 9 Heavens Immortal Court to proactively extend goodwill to you.